Welcome everybody. This show was supposed to be a conversation with a group of people. We were supposed to have at least close to 10 on, roughly around there. A lot of people backed out. Some may come into the conversation at a later time. This conversation is still open for everybody that wants to join as well. But today we will be kind of discussing abortion, people's thoughts behind it, how they feel about it, why they feel that way, and just to gain an understanding of why there is such a huge divide in people and why everybody is so up in arms about it. But for right now, we have two lovely ladies with us. Ashley was here before. This is Freely Ashley from TikTok. Another one of my gaming friends. This is KariG. Up, I guess it would be up here. Yep, up there. How y'all doing today?
Good. Hot. But
yeah, you're in Texas. It's gonna be hot.
it is. And I don't have AC for the living room yet.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Ashley?
I'm doing very well.
All right. So, first thoughts. What is y'all's stance on abortion as it goes? Either one? Who wants to answer first?
100%.
You what?
I'm 100%. Like, I think it's the woman's choice, and that's basically it. We don't know what circumstances. Now, there's habitual people that always do it constantly. Then I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if people should have like a punch card, be like, you've done it this many times. Okay, that's just like taking advantage of something that is offered to people for like a way out when there's certain circumstances that you should have an option for. But besides that, yeah.
So you're kind of a pro-choice with limitation then, kind of situation.
Well, yeah, because I think some people like any other kind of thing, people love to abuse power. When there is something given to us, something as great as having a choice, a free will to be able to make up our own decisions, and then people take that from us, that's something very huge. But when some people use it and abuse it, then that's not right either. That's what makes this kind of conflict an interest for everybody to start being like, hey, this, and that. When people abuse it, that's why people start talking about it, and that's why they want to take it away.
Right.
So,
okay. What about you, Ashley?
I am pro-life. I used to be pro-choice, and then I changed my mind once I learned a lot about gestational development. And then those, I was pro-life, and it took me a long time to be able to call myself pro-life, just because it was a long transition from going from pro-choice over. And then once I had twins born prematurely, that really solidified my stance.
Okay. And I definitely wanted to have you into the conversation, from our last talk and everything. It's like, your whole viewpoints culturally, politically have switched really, really hard, really quickly. And, when I started planning this whole thing, I definitely wanted to have you on because I'm pretty sure that you can see the stances of other people that are just like, no, I should be able to kill him whenever, kind of situation. But honestly, for me, my standing on it, other than the hard R and incest, the choice or the mother's health and everything like that, I can understand why, but like KariG was saying, it shouldn't be a form of birth control.
Exactly.
It's more of a,
like you said, a certain term. Like well, that's what I was going to bring it up. Okay, I was watching a comedian the other day, and she literally said, like, don't take this as if you feel that you're pregnant or you know your body, you should know your body, which not all women do. and you feel like you're pregnant and you don't want the baby, there is plan B. That's why you take it right afterwards. Or, you make sure you get that abortion, like, right. Like, don't wait till you're like 5, 6 months. The baby's already born, has a heartbeat. Like, that's a life already. Like, don't do that. Like,
Right.
for sure. But there is time, there's an embryo and it's starting to develop and it's kind of like an egg kind of thing, I guess. The egg's not ready. We eat it. Not everybody does, but that's our thing. But, once you start seeing it develop and then there's some cultures that wait till it actually starts developing and then that's like their thing. I can't remember what culture it is, but they eat it as a delicacy where it's already kind of the embryo and starting and kind of like midway. And, that's for them. Everybody's different. But
Okay, you're talking about eggs, right?
yeah.
Not human beings. Yeah. Okay. I was like,
well,
hold up. Who's eating unborn babies? Is this thing real? Okay.
Hey, you never know. Hey, different cultures, different things.
I mean, yeah. Hey, if you want to go down that Q rabbit hole, apparently there are. Whatever.
There is. Puppies, kittens. I mean, there's some cultures that are like, fry me up that puppy. You know what I mean? Like, might be good though.
By the way, yeah. for everybody out there, I had one hell of a wardrobe malfunction and didn't think about it till we were about to start the show, and I was just, fuck it. My shirt has come from a video game competition that I was in a couple of years ago. It's a bad choice, but anyway.
Is it so? But is it? I mean, is it?
I was like, before we were even trying to start the show, I was just like, oh my god, this is horrible.
It's like subliminal messages coming out little by little.
So yeah, but
yeah.
As far as everything goes, for me, I understand, with a hard R, women are, if you have to carry that child out, a lot of women are going to see that child as the result of trauma in their life. I can understand that. What?
Actually, statistically speaking, women who keep their babies after going through a trauma like SA have lower rates of anxiety, depression, suicide, amongst other things, because they are able to find something positive out of a horrific event that took place. And they see that baby as only their baby, and that it just because of how they were created doesn't take away the value of that child.
Of their child.
Right. No, yeah. it doesn't. But I can understand the argument behind that. And, I'm willing to give leeway to that, because look, everybody can be a parent, or everybody can be a mother or father, but some people should not. And if that's a kind of traumatic experience and you find like that life would be just like everything wrong with that experience, you're not going to take care of that child at that point. You're going to start being a horrible parent if you take it to that level. Yes, there are a lot of people out there who have kept their child. I've heard a lot of videos and people talking about it and things like that, where they actually turned it around. And like she said, they wind up loving the child. But there are some people who plan out children that shouldn't have children at all. So, I mean, I can understand that. Incest kind of thing, it becomes a huge problem genetically when people similarly, by genetics, start creating life. And I know it sounds bad, but genetic diversity means a hell of a lot into humans. Like, you start having like brother and sister make children, there comes a lot of deformations and genetic mutations that just will cause problems. Have eyes. Yep. That's kind of a messed up way of putting it, yes, but no, I mean, I can understand that.
Dalmatians. I mean, it goes to animals too. People like to pure breed, and then it turns into animals and things like that. I mean, Pugs. Same thing. They come with defects. Yeah, there's certain things. But I did want to say about what she was saying earlier about the difference of being able to feel like okay about having that kind of situation, loving the child as their very own, things like that. But I do believe that a lot of that has to touch base with the way the woman was and carried herself before that happened. Because there is times where in that kind of situation, there are, people that are already kind of in that kind of spectrum where they're not okay mentally, things like that. So when that probably pushes them over the edge. And then there's some very powerful women that, they take it in stride and they make the best of it. And, it's like their best accomplishment. There's two different things of that. When you get somebody to do studies, there's different backgrounds for that. So maybe the study should have been about what they're like before and then afterwards, because sometimes people just aren't okay.
Right.
And then they make the best of it.
I don't think your background really has much to do with how you respond to any given type of trauma in general.
I do. Believe me, I do. 100%. If I'm not...
KariG is, yeah, she's got a rough background, so...
If you're not mentally stable, like, and this happens to you, this kind of trauma, like, it could break you or make you. And then there's women that are very fortunate to not have gone through things and trauma. And then this trauma happens to them. They hopefully normally are strong individuals and they take it in stride and they, make the best of it and are able to, how would you say it? Be okay with it, live with it, like kind of, where somebody that isn't mentally stable, that went through trauma, just isn't and can't, It's a lot of mind, heart, willingness.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that's really subjective, I mean, there are a lot of women who never have any type of mental health issues, and then something like SA occurs and they experience, PTSD and anxiety and depression and all these things. And then there's women who already experience those things. And you just never know how someone is going to react to a situation like that. I think a lot of women carry stuff like that with them for a long time and a lot don't. And it just depends on the person. And like I said, I just don't necessarily think
it's about their... Mm-hmm. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I just was going to say, I just don't necessarily think any given person's like background or life or mental health before something like that happens, it necessarily carries over or reflects how they will react in the future after an event like that. But, it's just a subjective thing. So
when do you guys draw the limit as far as that goes? When does abortion become too much for you guys? I'm sorry, I should say you ladies. But yeah.
It's a colloquialism.
Mine is definitely, like I said, is using the punch card way too many times. Like if you're a habitual person that just constantly is abusing it. And also when you already know and you drag it out till your certain term. Like, come on, you had this much time to take care of it or address the subject, because it shouldn't be something you have to take care of. It's something that you have to address, and take care of it, I guess. So yeah.
Like kind of like Colorado. I think it's Colorado that has that all the way up until 9 months. Something like that. Yes.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Are you serious?
Isn't there something in California that you can do it even
it's
after birth?
It's yeah. So there's a bill that I believe just got passed that allows for basically there's no investigation done after 28 days from birth. There's no investigation done if an infant dies of of a lot of different things, but like neglect is one. So you could literally leave your 10-day-old baby to die and you won't face any repercussions for it.
What? How is that even?
How is that even law that they're proposing? they'll think it's sin
How is
proposal.
it even a fucking law? Like, who would, excuse my language, but
Oh, it's okay.
who
We cuss
would,
on here all the time.
that's awful. I can't wrap my brain around people sitting somewhere saying, hey, you know what? This sounds like a good idea. Yeah, let's bring this to, the legislators and have a vote on it. Like,
Well,
really, people,
so
like, really?
it's frustrating because that bill, it doesn't define. So in the bill, it uses the word perinatal, but it doesn't define what that is, and that's
Right.
the problem. Is perinatal can be up to 28 days after birth. So it's what the bill is leaving out and not defining that is making it acceptable and allowing this kind of thing.
The gray area
Mhm.
Yeah,
for the
kinda
legal
like
team to be able to be like, okay, we got this gray area. We can work with it.
Kind of like that Tennessee bill that everybody was going after, saying, "Oh, they just want to marry kids because they left out the age limit," and that it's that kind of thing.
That was disturbing.
It's not
That was so disturbing.
It's not that. It was 2 pages saying that, common law marriage, you've been with somebody for long enough. You don't have to sign a piece of paper. Government doesn't have to get involved. You don't have to sign a piece of paper saying that you are married. You can just claim it. You will have to still prove it, but you can just claim that you are married. That's all that was. And then it went after
I thought you
attack
were
after
talking
attack
about the one
after
with
attack.
Okay, because I saw something on the paper where they had like rich men marrying like young kids for some weird reason, and it was okay. I didn't read the whole bylines of it, and I was like,
I
"What?"
never saw that. But
Yeah, I'm gonna look for it.
There's actually a lot of
scary.
states that don't have any like restrictions on the age someone can get married, provided that like they have parental consent, which is really messed up.
I mean, there's one where it's like,
that was
what
scary,
state
though.
it is, but it's like age 13 with even just one parent's consent at age 13. Like, who wants to marry a 13-year-old? That's disturbing.
But that's what I'm saying. That's
Predator.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
As far as that goes, what draws the line for you, Ashley, as far as abortion goes? When is it not okay for you?
So the only exceptions that I think should be allowed are obviously life of the mother, which are exceptionally rare. A lot of people use the argument of health of the mother, but that can be an ambiguous term in regards to, it doesn't mean physical health, doesn't mean mental health, doesn't mean financial health, all of which can change. But life of the mother. And I don't think it is morally sound to have an abortion due to SA, but I understand and would be willing to make a legal compromise to allow for that. But that also does have just heavily, a lot of heavy implications on how do you prove that and all of that. But I struggle with it also. I struggle with that compromise in and of itself simply because the child is also a victim. Right. And the child, their life is not diminished or devalued simply because of what they were, how they were conceived. So, but yeah, I do understand, especially, if it's a minor we're talking about, which are those are rare cases also. I have some stats pulled up, but I won't go into those just yet. But yeah, those are a little bit more rare cases. Right. And when I talk about abortion, documented. I want.
What?
Yes, it is documented.
Stats that are documented. There's a lot of cases that aren't documented that people are scared to address and bring up.
Yeah,
the simple fact that somebody's going to know. Like, that's why I don't take stats too fair somewhat.
The kid asked Josh Nader for an.
But I do think it is important to just go off the numbers that we know of, because that's the only form of reference that we have. The thing about it is that not all abortions are reported either, or the reasons for all abortions. So we really are in the dark about how many abortions are actually being performed and for what reasons. But I think, just for a logical consistency, we do have to rely on the numbers that are provided.
Right. We do have Oblivion in the chat. He says, hello, Twitch. What's going on? You got any kind of comments or anything like that, dude? Just feel free to type them in. I'll get them in when I can. But but yeah, it's for me. It becomes a point to like. I don't think it should happen after the first trimester. You know, unless it's like the health of the mother for some other reason, like you get into the second, third trimester and the woman's health just goes down and she's going to end up passing or has a high chance of passing away for it. I can understand then. But after about the first trimester, you've already had 3 months to make that decision, you know? And to go ahead and do that after the fact, after those 3 months, to me, it only screams like either you're mad at the guy or the guy left you and you feel like you don't want to be a single parent or just because you don't want the responsibility. That's kind of what I see that as. And it's disturbing that you can, with consensual encounters, you knew that consensual encounter was going to have a chance of creating a life. You took no precautions against it, and yet you feel like it's okay to kill another human being that is living inside of you. We're not going to go into the whole it's a parasite thing because it is not. But yeah, that's the new topic for everybody. If you don't know that, Kari.
I did not. That's why I'm like, parasite. Interesting.
Yeah, they say it's a parasitic life because it's drawing off the nutrient. I mean, Kari,
something invading your system.
Ashley had an interesting little interaction with somebody who said that the baby was eating her organs.
Eating off your organs. Yep.
Yeah,
It's funny. I used to use the parasite argument when I was pro-choice.
Technically, yeah, because they take our calcium, which weakens our bones. They suffer life away, literally. That's what children do.
But it's
for good or bad things, whatever.
It's not a bad parasite because it's not an invasive species. All right, that's not a thing.
I don't know about you, but children be trying to take up everything around here. That's what they're raised to do. Become the next best
They're
thing.
already outside of your body at that point. That's on you then. You know,
it's an invasion. In a good way. In a good way. It's not parasitic when you think of parasitic, you think of it in negative terms, but there could be a good term to it if you use it the right way. So,
right.
But yeah, negatively, no.
I can understand the heartbeat kind of situation. There is a huge nuance into that. Like I can understand the arguments on that, and you know, I'm kind of on the fence with that myself. If it's a heartbeat, it's a life, but there are women who don't know they're pregnant for a couple months till the heartbeat's already actually there. I don't understand how you wouldn't know. You know, I'm not a woman myself, but there are a lot of
their health isn't good, or they have. Oh, I know. Some people have spotty periods, or some just don't have them for a long period of time, and they think it's normal. Some people don't even get morning sickness. Like some people just don't. That's what I'm saying. Some people just don't know their bodies, but then some women are like, "How do you not know your body?"
There was a woman who got pregnant and didn't know she was pregnant until she was in labor. Like,
they have a show about that.
Yeah,
those are called cryptic pregnancies, and they do occur from time to time. They are rare, obviously, but I think a lot of those cases are women in denial, who aren't seeing or ignore. They're just blatantly ignoring a lot of the signs. But there are certain cases called cryptic pregnancies where there's no real signs. So yeah.
Okay, I can understand that, but I mean, still, there's. I'm not like I said, I'm not a woman, but there still is a lot of warning signs within you, right? Like, of course,
I found out
you can still have your cycle
period. Yeah, you can.
It's just like there are other things, especially at 9 months when the baby's kicking and moving around. Shouldn't you be able to feel that?
I would like to address that because it's so weird. I always tease my husband all the time, and I can't have kids no more. I got fixed. But I always tell him like I feel something like in my stomach where it feels like a baby's kicking. But no. It's weird. Mm-hmm. It's like weird, like little, and of course a baby, when the baby's kicking you, it's more like, you know, more harder, but you can feel like something like bumping you. You're like, parasite. But you never
that's
know.
kinda weird.
I hope not. God, it's scary. Now you think about it, you put that two together, that's scary. But yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Okay, another really really kind of sensitive topic. Should men have a say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, if Sung's is gonna be there and not dip out, like there are responsible fathers. There's some responsible fathers more than mothers. Like, you know, just because you're a woman or man shouldn't like take away the fact of you being able to speak up about it. Like, you know what I mean? It's part of your life too.
Right.
I really respect that. That you have that view, because so many people just sit and say that the men have no choice in either regards. And I've watched videos of men begging women to
Men
like, I will
cry,
take the
like,
baby. Like,
yes.
just please have my baby, and I will take them, and you don't ever have to see us again. And it's heartbreaking.
It
because,
is very, it is for women. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's frustrating because it's like the baby wouldn't exist if there wasn't a man involved, you know. So
exactly,
why don't they get a say?
Unless you purposely had like some in vitro fertilization or something like that. Yeah, the man does play a role in it, you know. But you know, I think a man should as well. There should be ultimately, yes, it is the woman's. Ultimately, yes, it is the woman's. Yeah, there. Okay. Ultimately, yes, it is the woman's choice as far as that goes. But at least have that conversation with the man. At least hear him out, because you know a lot of women say, "Hey, where are all the good men at? Where is this? Where is that?" Well, when you create a life and then you feel like, I don't want it anymore, the good man's gonna leave. You know. And then you're screaming again, where is the good man at? Well, you gave up that good man because you didn't want the baby or something like that. You know, it's like I said, ultimately it is the woman's choice, but a conversation needs to be had. And really, most men who do want that child are going to understand, okay, look, it is the woman's choice. I don't want you to do it. But if it's going to be done, okay. You know, there are some people out there that'll take a hard stance against it no matter what. But for the majority of men that I've talked to about it, it's, you know, they'd be like, okay, well, I want you to keep my baby, but I do understand it is your body. You know, so I'm okay with it. It's going to harbor ill will and hard feelings towards you, but I'm okay. Yeah. Her husband does like to get loud. But no, I understand it, but I do think men should be involved in the conversation as a whole, because the ones you call deadbeat fathers, they're not going to care anyway. So you just say, hey, I'm thinking about aborting my baby. He's going to be like, okay, whatever. Cool. Don't call me again.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating, too, because there are a lot of women who have been pressured or forced into an abortion by a man. And I never, I just think that's absolutely disgusting. And a lot of women who also use, like, almost weaponize the pregnancy against a man to get them to do what they want. And so I think on both sides of the fence in that regard, there's a lot of really horrible things happening in regards to this issue. And, you know, I've recently come across a few threads on TikTok of women explaining how they regret their abortions, and like 20 years, you know, have passed, and they still think about it and think about who that person would have been and cry. And many of those women felt pressured or were, you know, actually like forced into doing it. So
yeah,
I could probably address that. I've had an abortion. I was negative about abortion my entire, like literally my entire life. And then I had one when I was about I think my situation is a little bit different. So I had a daughter die, and then I had a son born, and then I had an abortion. But I had a son before that. So it was a very hard time in my life for me to actually make that decision. But I know at that moment I had to, because I would have lost everything, literally like everything. So it was a hard, and I do think about it from time to time, but not as much as it's been like I said, it's been about 20 something years already. So now it's more of a reflection of my life and how much I've grown. And yeah, it hurts sometimes, but I mean, it was what's best for that moment for me, because I couldn't have imagined and then 10 years later I had, well, not 10 years later, well, maybe. And then I had my daughter. So, and she's like the love of my life. So I don't know. And it makes you wonder, I wonder what my kid would have been, but
I mean,
some things happen for a reason.
You could have had the next Albert Einstein,
I just
You never know.
want to say that I'm very sorry for your losses, truly and genuinely.
Yeah, I grew up with a friend. She's been a good friend of mine for a lot of my life. She grew up with a single mother, and her mother passed away when she was like 13, 14 years old. She bounced around from friends' houses to house to house till she became an adult. She had an abortion at one point in time, and I was just hanging out with her one night, just having fun talking. Of course, we were drinking, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, she just started crying, just like, not like, no, I'm just talking about like breakdown mental crying. And I'm just like, what is going on?
You've heard me do it.
Yeah. and
so you know what it sounds like.
She gave me everything. Like, I never even knew that about her. I never knew she had an abortion. She just gave me everything about it. And, it was like 5 months in, and, she didn't have a home. She didn't have anywhere to go. She had no way of taking care of a child. She wanted to keep the child, but she couldn't, provide for that child at all. And I remember that, like, it's just like, it's ingrained into the back of my mind because, I grew up with this girl, my family helped her. And I never knew that. She never told me that. We were really good friends. And apparently she never told anybody about it. She was starting to show a little bit. She's just like, oh, I guess I'm gaining weight. I guess I got to go on a diet, making jokes about that. But no, she was pregnant. And it kind of, when she told me about that, it kind of hit me hard because, I've never really considered it or thought about it at that point in time until we were talking about it. And I was just like, holy shit. This is not something that's like a yes or no kind of situation at all. It's not something that should not be done. There are so many nuances in these kinds of situations that there's no cut and dry answer to any of this.
Mm-hmm. It's not. It's the hardest decision you could probably ever make in your entire life, and that's why I say I was like totally against it until I was faced it. And then imagine somebody just taking away my choice, like what that could have. I mean, to me, I think I'm a very strong person. Like, I've been through so much, and everybody's been through their own kind of different things. Right. But I mean, when you face it head on, like, and then imagine you didn't have a choice to make because they took it from you. Like, you would have to make the best of it, of course, and do whatever you can. And sometimes people do need their choices taken away because sometimes they take advantage of it. It's very true. But in every single situation, it's totally, completely different. Like, it's a hard, and that's why I think it's a lot hard for people to go back and forth with because, I mean...
Well, see, here's the whole thing. But, the whole overturning Roe versus Wade, like, everybody's up in arms about that. And I don't understand why, because... on a federal level, it sets a precedent all around the country. Okay. Now, the fact that the Supreme Court is only supposed to rule on the constitutionality and the law as it is defined, The fact that it's been sitting there for 50 plus years and it's not constitutional in any way, invokes the 10th Amendment saying that anything the federal government cannot rule on needs to go to the states to define. And that's what this is. It's giving the power back to the states for the people themselves. Yes, there are trigger laws that come into effect and everything like that, but you have more power to go to your state legislature to say, I want this, I want that. And these people behind me agree. It gives more power back to the citizens. But yet here we are in a situation still having this conversation to figure out what we want. Like, it was never solidified because for the past 50 plus years, it's always been a federal thing. Like, this has never been an argument that has been pushed to where the majority of the people within an area or state or whatever has ever been able to really agree on, because it was never on the table for us to agree. So, I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was like, that's why some people take away the democracy of it all, because they give us too much choices and then we just go and fuck it all up. Like, when you give somebody too many choices to make and the liberty, it's like, man, there's so many. Every single person has a different thought and a right to say, and this, and that's why there's some places they're like, no, and they have to deal with it, and it sucks. But I get that part.
I just view it a lot differently because it's not like, everybody says, it's a woman's right to choose, but why does the woman get to determine the value of another human being, that regardless of not if it's her own or not, because that's what the core of the issue comes down to is, a lot of people who are pro-choice have gone very far away from like reality in the regards that people are saying it's not a baby and it's not alive and it's not a human being even. I've seen that argument a whole lot. So I enjoy talking to you because, you're like, yes, it is a baby and it is alive, and I understand all of that. And I have a lot of more respect for you than a lot of people with the arguments that are currently going on, like all over.
Oh, they are ridiculous arguments, though.
That's the frustrating part, is it's a justification. And when I was pro-choice, I acknowledged that it was a baby and thought it was sometimes necessary and all of that. But that's the thing, is 96 to 99% of abortions are done out of convenience. And there are other choices. There's 36 couples waiting to adopt a child right now. 36 to every one child.
Yes, but then again, with adoption, that shouldn't. It's a money racket at that point. We've even looked into it, $25,000 to $30,000 just to adopt a child right out of the womb.
Well, that's also if you go with a private adoption agency. But say if you just knew someone who was having a baby, you could talk and didn't want the child, you could talk to them and figure out some sort of arrangement, which a lot of people do also. But yeah, we need to fix that system, because $20,000 to adopt a child, like, you can't put a monetary value on a life. No. And while I do understand the adoptive parents maybe helping with medical costs and all of that, I just think you're making it harder for people to take the children that that people are giving up. So we need to fix.
My wife and I would love to have a kid, but we don't have that money to just throw away. Oblivion is in the chat. He says there never is a real answer, and yeah, there's never going to be on this. This will always be an emotionally filled topic that just you'll never get a clear cut answer. And hey, Sort, welcome. But it just comes down to the point, really, at least from my aspect. Okay, it comes down to the point that this is something that's going to affect both parents, man and woman. Okay, that conversation needs to be had. Of course, I do agree with it as a whole that the woman should have the ultimate say. but you need to at least hear the arguments from the man themselves. At least hear the man out to see how it would affect him, because that trauma just does not go for women as well. Because if I got a woman pregnant when I was younger, and she wanted to have an abortion, look, I want to be a father. I want kids.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to take that from me just because, yeah, that's going to hurt me. That's going to scar me. So if we can at least have that conversation, I'd feel better about the decision, and I wouldn't feel so much hatred towards somebody who would do that to me. So if you scream, oh, it's my choice, whatever, I'm getting rid of this kid, and I'm trying to argue, no, please don't do it, then you wind up doing it anyway without me involved in any of the conversation. Yeah, that's going to have a lasting effect on the man too. And it's a huge problem that people don't take that into consideration. And when things like this come up, it's, well, just fuck men again. That's always been a thing. And
well, it's really frustrating because so many people just don't care about how men feel about anything. They don't care about men's feelings at all, in regards to a lot of different issues. And I just don't think that's right either. Men have plenty of feelings, might express it differently than women, but this kind of stuff affects men just as much as it does women. And I just, denying that is unproductive.
Yes. As far as that goes, I'll never understand that as to why women believe that a man shouldn't have a say in any of it when he is 50% of that DNA. He was involved in creating that life. That to just take away his right to speak up and say something, or even, go full term, give the baby away, sign over your rights to the male and just proceed that way. I understand, that it is your body, but that's another human life that, okay, yeah, you have it for 9 months, 8, 9, 10 months. And then, the man takes care of the child. It's still the same thing, other than the fact that the baby is actually live. It's born. It's in the world and probably taken care of as best as a single parent could. So when you take away a man's right to at least speak up and say his point of it, and when you take away a man's right to say his piece, his point of that, then we're hearing a lot of background noise from you, Kara. Yeah, okay. Like I was saying though, when you take away that right from a man, you take away, a lot of women say like, all men are this, all men are that. You're creating that echo chamber to where men are going to say all women are this because my baby mama decided to kill my child. So every woman is going to kill my child. It's creating that same stupidity over and over and over again when you don't at least let the man have his piece about it. Because that's really what it's all going to boil down to. Most men will defer to the woman's choice as long as he has a say, So it's, if you don't let them have that.
It's frustrating too. Sorry. But what's frustrating is, a man can't opt out of child support,
right?
Unless he was to sign away his rights. So if he ever wants to see his child, there's a lot of situations where he's forced to pay child support until they're 18, and he doesn't get a choice in that, But the woman can choose to end the child's life entirely. I was actually listening to a former abortionist who turned pro-life, and she said something that I thought was really impactful. And she said, a permanent solution is never the answer to a temporary problem.
Right.
And pregnancy being, viewed as a temporary problem. And I thought that was just a really good way to put it because, obviously pregnancy does a lot to your body. I definitely know that. I'm having two babies at the same time. But in the end, you're only pregnant for so long, but you can never, bring that child back essentially. So.
Right. And that was actually going to be the next point. You kind of segued into that pretty damn nicely. What do y'all think about that? I mean, if the man's shouldn't have a say, it's a woman's choice. Should he at least be able to opt out if he doesn't want to be involved?
What? I don't get it. How is it for?
Oh, she's thinking hard. Look at that. I can't hear you. I think your battery died, yeah.
Oh, that's probably.
Yeah, it works.
It's coming through something. I can hear the background, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's weird. Maybe it's connected to something else.
I don't know. If you want to, you can go ahead and restart everything because it may be her Discord will do this sometimes. So.
Yeah, maybe the headphone disconnecting messed something up.
But I'm kind of okay. I'm still gonna be on the fence with this one as well while she fixes all that problem. I'm still gonna be on the fence on this one as well because there is a point to it, but it is still the same argument as if you can mute real quick, Kari, while you figure this out. Okay, she'll be back, but
yeah, for sure.
I think it's the same argument, with abortion. Okay, if a man doesn't want to be involved and you keep it, he should be able to opt out because he shouldn't be involved if you want to abort it. Now, you can argue about, okay, well, he helped create that life. He should be held responsible. We're back to square one. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same argument. It's not equality in any way, shape, or form. But for a man to have to pay child support for 18 plus years, depending on even the child goes to college. If the child goes to college, I think it's up to 25. So
it probably depends on the state.
Yeah, for the man to pay child support, for something that he doesn't want, or there's a problem where there are a lot of vindictive women out there that would just go after the man for the money. It's just that, and that's all it is to him.
Well, what's frustrating is what happens to the man if he doesn't pay child support. He goes to jail.
He loses his license.
He's neglecting his quote unquote duties as a parent, which arguably I think child support should only be used for men who aren't involved in their child's life. Right. Because in the end, men who are involved in their child's life end up spending so much money on child support to help support the kids in another household that they can't fully support them in their own household when they do get them, and that's really frustrating. I've seen a lot of dads who literally can't afford to take their kids on, to do fun things, to actually spend time together and create memories because they're giving all the money to, their ex-wife or their ex-girlfriend or whoever it is. But those people get to take the kids on fun and to do fun things and meaningful things and create those memories. So the father feels very, left out and unable to, really bond with his kid in the same way, and feels like they're going to have all these memories with this other family instead of me. And I think that's just really sad. So anyway, sorry, a little tangent, but
no, you did. But no,
yeah,
I have a friend who literally, he's got 3 kids with the same woman. They were never married or anything, but once they broke up, like he was with her all throughout high school, all throughout up until 28 years old, until they broke up. She takes him to court every single year because, of course, you're supposed to get a cost of living raise every single year. She takes him to court every single year to get more money from him. Now, she does not let him see the children at all. Like he wants to be involved in the children's life. He has to press the court, or he has to go through child services or anything like that, even to get visitation rights to see his children.
Mm-hmm.
Because she made up some lie. I won't get into it, but she made up some lie in the court that was proven wrong, but the court still sided with the mother.
And they do normally, and that's
most of the time.
That's where we go wrong. It's very frustrating because I know personally people who have no business like having their children, and the children would be much better off with the father, but because that they're the mother, the court just automatically sides with the mother instead of accurately assessing the situation and determining which parent the child would be best with, and I know dads who have full custody of their children, and the mom comes and goes as she pleases and continues having more children who then get taken by somebody else. And it's just I think the men's rights activists, I do agree with a lot of points from that side, but they can obviously be toxic just as any other activism group can be. There's a lot of
Definitely.
toxic pro-life people, there's a lot of toxic pro-choice people, I see a lot of their points, and I think that it has a lot of merit. And men's rights, we like to act as if men have all these extra rights, and I don't think that's true at all. So
no, we really don't. As a matter of fact, when you look at the broad spectrum of everything, women have more rights than men do. I mean, just in court alone, women, like Amber Heard, shit. We were talking about that before the case. This woman has lied on stand, played those crocodile tears with absolutely no tears coming out and everything like that. And there are people that still back her, and there is no information whatsoever about Johnny Depp just abusing her in any way,
Yeah, and I don't think it's as much as like there's one side has more rights than the other. I think it's that women get a lot more leeway. I mean, you even look at the prison. Yeah, you even look at the prison system and how like prison crimes are sentenced, and women get so much less time than men do for the exact same crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And as a woman, I don't think we should just be letting women off the hook for things that they're doing out of malice, just because they're women. I don't think that's a productive way
like
to
the Brett
lead.
Kavanaugh situation, the believe all women situation. Yeah.
Well, the Me Too got really toxic really fast, and I saw women claiming, that things that they were equating, something like being, I don't know, accidentally touched as being essayed. They were equating for those two things. Somebody accidentally brushing up against you, and freaking out and saying that you were essentially essayed. And it's like those two things are not the same thing. And we can't keep acting like there are not levels of violation against, a person, right. And which all should be assessed. And, if it goes through a court case and all of that, be properly prosecuted, obviously. So,
all right, Kari, you are still muted. If that's not intentional, but yeah,
she's still trying to get her things to work.
Yeah, she had her little headset. She thought she was charging it up and everything like that, and it didn't charge for her. So here we are. She's dealing with this. Happens a lot with her Discord when she uses it on her phone. Like, I don't know why on her phone it's such a problem. Like, when we even play games together, she's just like, she'll be in mid-sentence and then drop off. And then you don't hear from her for a while. And then she just cuts out and comes back in.
That sucks.
But yeah, it's
frustrating.
Oh, yeah. It can be that way. Oh, my God.
Broom, broom.
Apparently, we're doing this tonight. But yeah,
I would like to bring up a point that you said earlier. You said it a while ago, but it's been kind of gnawing at me, and I haven't had a good chance to respond to it. You said in the second and third trimester, if there's anything going on with the woman's life, like if her life is in danger, you said that you would or support abortion or see where it's needed. But that's the thing, is past 24 weeks, especially, there's no need ever. If ever the woman's life is in danger, you can birth the child. They can take the child out through emergency C-section.
Right.
Late term abortions actually take days to perform. So there's no emergency that you could hold off for days. I went into labor at 27 weeks and I had my twins at 30 weeks. They were able to stop it the first time. So
Wow, you had 3 weeks of labor?
No, so I went into labor, preterm labor at 27 weeks. I spent a week in the hospital. I got all kinds of different drugs to try to stop the labor, like medications, not like loopy drug, but, I was on constant IV drips and taking medications to stop contractions, stop labor, stop any chance of me progressing. And that worked. And I did, the labor stopped. Like I said, I spent that week in the hospital for observation. And once they thought I was in the clear, they released me. I went home on bed rest. And then I had them 3 weeks later to the day. So, and,
you do bring up a good point. It is medically viable to, what is it, up to 24 weeks now?
Well, so the earliest viability is 21 weeks and 6 days, but I believe that's only been one child. But yeah, it's generally about 23 to 24 weeks. There's a lot of babies who do great, even being born at 22 weeks, though. And I know I've read they're anecdotal because, like, I'm in, I'm a part of a lot of twin mom groups and stuff like that. So I see a lot of these stories firsthand, and I see the success story of a child or 2 children, born at 22 weeks, and there are immense risks, right?
Right.
But there's a chance that they will survive. So I would much rather someone who is 25 weeks along, who just decides that they don't want their baby, to just have the C-section and, let the baby have a chance. Because there's absolutely no reason past, especially 24 weeks, that you ever need to do an abortion. You don't need to end the child's life just to end the pregnancy.
No, but then again, that comes back to the conversation being had. Like I said, ultimately, it is a woman's it is their determination, their word on it. But when it comes to the health of the mother, that conversation needs to be had, because I've kind of expressed that a little bit to you as far as that goes. Like, the woman they've lived their life, they've made their choices, they've gone through their situations that child has not. Everybody should at least have the ability to make their choices, make their life what they are. That conversation needs to be had. Should it be the mother or the baby? Now, okay, C-section being, a viable option, that still needs to be involved in the conversation as well. But I don't. When it comes to the health of the mother, that situation needs to be discussed by everybody. Any viable options can be discussed with the doctor and all, but ultimately, I'm gonna go ahead and say it is your choice with that, as long as my voice is heard.
See, yeah, that's the thing, though, is health of the mother gets real dicey real fast.
It does.
Now, if we want to talk life of the mother, yes. If your life is in danger in the first, in the first half of your pregnancy, and you will not survive, yes, your life comes first, because you should not, die as a result of pregnancy. But in the same token, like I said, health is just way too subjective of a term. Like, if someone gets gestational diabetes, which isn't necessarily a risk to your health, or to your life, a risk to your life, but it could, cause some health issues for you during pregnancy, and those usually resolve after pregnancy. That's the thing about it too, is a lot of health issues that happen during pregnancy, a lot of them resolve once the pregnancy is over.
And I can understand that, but it's
Parasite.
okay. So she's working
I had to
again.
throw it in there. I'm
She's
sorry, I had to throw that in there. I was like, Parasite. They take away children, take away so much. They're such a blessing, but it takes so much from you literally while you're pregnant, especially if you don't take care of yourself. That's make your teeth fall out. Like,
Yeah, I don't look at it that way at all. Yeah, there's a lot of
no,
health
it's
issues. that
legit.
can
They
come
do.
up.
They legit.
No,
They do.
no. A lot of the times, your body, like that's where I think it's just a difference of perspective too. Is I believe the woman's body gives the baby everything that they need. I don't think the baby is just taking everything away. Also, there's a lot of research to show that if a woman that the baby is able to send kind of stem cells to a woman who's going through health problems, like say there's something going on with her heart, you know what I mean, and she's having heart issues. A lot of times, the baby can send stem cells to help repair certain areas of the body and help the mother. So, just as many people experience positive things from pregnancy as they do negative. So I just think it's just kind of.
I don't see it as negative. I just think it's a funny term, a parasite. That's all. I literally don't. I love all my kids. I've had 5 pregnancies. Like, to me, they're like fantastic. I literally didn't have any like problems. I had them all natural. I didn't even have epidurals. I had nothing, like straight up nothing with all my kids. Yeah. And I was one of those moms where I was like, I'm not having drugs. I didn't do drugs. I didn't do any of that. So I'm having them natural, like straight up. I was one of them moms.
KariG does have a dark sense of humor like me. She likes to make fun and poke fun at things that are just like, whoa, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I know it sounds mean in a not mean, but how would I put it? Like when there's a serious conversation going on, I'm one of those people that like to like break the tension, I guess, kind of say, like,
for sure.
So it's not too, because even though it is a serious issue and it needs to be talked about seriously, there is always a lighter side to everything. Because sometimes we take things so impactively that we just like, it kind of takes away from like what we're trying to do and give everybody that option, that opinion, and to be able to discuss it in a lighthearted kind of way. Because everything should be discussed in the right way. Because then we get a lot of people that are like, negative, and then they start talking, and it sounds like you said like earlier, like we're not having a debate. Everybody has their personal opinions,
right?
And we want everybody to know about them, get them all out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That's just me.
But I want to go back to you, since you had problems there, KariG. I want to go back to get your thoughts on that.
The father having the right to pay.
Yeah, or the father being able to opt out if he so chooses.
He can have that opinion all he wants, but he was there to make a choice at the beginning of the pregnancy, which is literally the act of making the baby. Right. So if you're going to take it that far, you might as well make sure not, take your responsibility 100%. Like, because, there's just such thing as a good time and whatever, but you got to understand every single good deed has a consequence, no matter what you're doing in life. So if you're ready to lay in bed with that person, then make sure you're ready to have those things that may come about afterwards. Even though you might have had a condom, could have been broken, you could have had birth control, and you mistaken the wrong. There's so many different consequences that lead up to our actions in life where people don't stop and think about the gratification of them when they're doing them. And that's what takes the fun out of stuff, of course, because we don't want to be like, oh, did I take my birth control there? And wait, does he have a condom? Like, there's so many things, but it leads up to all different kinds of things. Besides pregnancy, there's STDs. There's just a variety of things that happen. But I believe that if you are going, I wouldn't say take away, but I mean, he was there for the process. Might as well be there for the rest of it. Yeah, you don't have to be there for the child, but hey, that's 100% up to you. But paying for some of those things, because like college, there's certain things like having a good birthday party, like, oh, good shoes the first day of school, like just little things that sometimes being a single parent, not mom or dad, single parent, could be anybody, may not have the money for. And having that one person to just once in a while send money, I mean, that makes such a big difference than someone not sending money ever. Like, you know what I mean? And
right. But then again,
I wouldn't want to say take away that choice or not. You know, it goes back to there's really like a fine line of what's the choice, like what you know what I mean. That's why I'm
oh,
kind of like,
definitely. But then again, there are cases like, God, what was that? I think it was Kobe Bryant or something like that, where he was wearing a condom, and the woman took the condom and impregnated herself. Like
that does
that's a
happen.
baby trap. There are women that do that. You know,
There
they will
is.
stop the man from, even if there's no condom, they'll stop the man from pulling out.
I'll tell you
trap
about
them.
that. In football and baseball, and they have little like when they go to their I forget what they're called, those little things they do before after they've done the draft. Everybody goes and they go to like a summer thing, right? They literally have the program where they talk to you. The coaches, they have a bunch of people that will come and talk to you, be like, look, you're worth this kind of money. Now you need to be able to take care of yourself for this very reason, because these women or men or whoever, whatever relationship they might be in, are going to try to fool you to get some sort of money from you, one way or another. And that they literally have like a boot camp kind of like summer camp. I don't even know what they call it anymore, but they have it every year for every new person that comes about and all this other stuff. So they can know what they're getting into when it comes to that kind of money and having that kind of lifestyle, because people out there are vicious.
Yes, they are. But you know, in situations like that, when hold on, I never hit the. In situations like that where it is a baby traps kind of situation, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, the man should be able to opt out. I mean, when you force that to happen, that's on you, kind of situation. You know, the man could have taken every precaution he could, but yet you forced a life that should have never have been. Yeah, you can opt out. As far as child
There's a way of proving it.
yes.
Yeah, which is a hard proof, because without literally being there, you could be like, nah, he lied. You know, it's a big back of who said what kind of thing in
Right.
courts of that.
But as far as the child support situation, you know, you brought up a good point, Ashley. I actually agree with it. You know, if a man doesn't want to be involved in that, then yes, hit him with child support. You know, because if he just wants to smash and dash, and all life comes up out of that, then that should be his responsibility. But if he wants to be involved in that child's life, even if the mother and father cannot be together for whatever reason, if he's still there, if he's still trying to provide, if he's still doing these things, I don't think he should be put on child support, because then it no longer makes him a viable option to be able to support the child if the mother just wants to take a vacation or something like that, and she can't take the child, or whatever situation, you know. Like he can no longer do that, because even though the child is with him for however long, he's still paying that money to her. So he can't do anything for the child.
Well, even if, and it's frustrating because even if like, okay, well, you know, somebody could maybe argue, well, he can go earn more money. Well, when you earn more money, you'll get more money taken away. You know, a lot of times the woman will go, you know, or the courts themselves will just reassess the situation and go, oh, okay, well, you earn more money, so she's entitled to have more money. And that's frustrating. And it's just frustrating in the fact that, like, so men aren't allowed to opt out of raising a child that they didn't want, but a woman is allowed to have a choice in whether the child lives or dies at all. That's a, you know, that's where when I started changing my mind from pro-choice to pro-life, I kind of started seeing those just discrepancies, and I was like, well, yeah, that's not right. Like, why is it that the man needs to take responsibility but the woman doesn't have to? And you know, I know that there's a lot of women in a lot of hard situations, but you know, there's also a lot of other choices, and I think a lot of people are using abortion as birth control right now because it's being minimized, and people are trying to morally justify it, and by saying you know, crazy arguments and dying on crazy hills in an attempt to just say, well, I shouldn't have to feel bad because I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, no, I think it's just we all should accept that, you know, when I was pro-choice, I knew, yeah, it's not right, but maybe some people are just forced into really hard situations. And now I kind of look at it as more of, why aren't we, I want to support women in those hard situations. I want to help women. I've gone and bought, baby items off a wish list for somebody I didn't even know several times. Because there's a lot of pro-life, like Abby Johnson has like a pro-life Facebook page. So she frequently posts lists of, hey, here's a woman who decided not to have an abortion, or here's a woman who was essayed and she decided not to have an abortion and she needs help. And I want to help those women,
Right.
So it's just one of those things. Like, the woman shouldn't be able to opt out either if the man can't,
I have a big thing about donations, unless, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so say when you go to a store, right? And they say, oh, would you like to buy this? It's going, every single dollar goes to whatever, and you write your name on it. Say it's like a cloud or something, right? Now, the stores, by the way, have purchased all these, which I know because I worked in the store and we purchased them. They've already donated all this money. So you're literally giving back to the store, besides the fact that they're getting a tax write-off for it. So my biggest thing is whenever you make sure and donate, because I was helped by the Ronald McDonald Home for whenever you have sick children, where you go and you stay there and all that stuff. Now I know for a fact that's legit. There's a lot of places that are literally legit, but make sure whenever you're going, because there's some foul people out there. Whenever you're donating, I don't even care what kind of page they have, they'll do that. They'll say, oh, you think it's legit and whatever, and they'll take whatever you've donated. Always do your research when it comes to that stuff, because you want to make sure it's going to, and that's what makes me real sketchy about donating stuff. I'll donate it when I know, like, literally, like, I'm there to the place kind of thing, and I'll donate. You know what I mean? But there's some, you got to be real careful when you donate, because people are super sketchy when it comes in. People.
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about donating to an organization. I'm talking about going and helping women, like, individually by buying like I said, Amazon wish list items and stuff like that. And I don't just do that for random people. There's a pro-lifer who I just follow, and I go, and she just frequently shares those, and that their organization is super legit. But I do appreciate you saying that, because there are a lot of really messed up charities that aren't helping people at all, and it really bothers me a lot.
Like, I'm not going to name it, but a certain organization whose co-founder bought mansions with donation money. Yeah.
Oh, there's so many things out there. Come GoFundMe page, please. I need some new kicks. Like, really? Like, I don't know. There's just
that's ridiculous.
But I mean, when it's for a good cause or whatever, you decide to give them their money. Like, someone's trying to. Like, to me, like, you're legit, like, say, like I said, GoFundMe page, right? And then you literally give everybody the specifications of what it's going to be like. Hey, I need this and this and that. Can you help somebody out? Like, you're being real to me. I'm going to go there and be like, okay, I'll maybe I will, maybe I won't. But at least you're being real with me. Right. Don't try to scheme it tonight and then, get that money on it, a low down kind of way. Like, be real with me. I'll be real with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that kind of stuff, I'm like, that's awesome. When people are straight up. But when they start lying and conniving for it, something sketchy,
Right. So, and, I can say, like, St. Jude, they are an awesome organization. A coworker of
very
mine.
Awesome.
Her child had juvenile leukemia at 2 years old.
Oh, man.
They took care of the child. Of course, she won that battle. They took care of her. They took care of the child. They put her up. There was no cost to the parents at all for any of it.
At all.
And, for something like that, I'm definitely going to give my money towards, I'll help out when I can. But when it's something like this organization wants to raise funds, are you willing to give money? I'm going to assume that organization is not giving that, because think about it, like Arby's does their whole little thing once a year for different organizations, and they have places all over the US, and people do give money because it's a feel good kind of situation. Yet for some reason, it seems like it never makes an impact, no matter how much money they raise. Because they'd be like, oh, well, we gave them $300-400 million. Why didn't that help? You know, why is the problem still as bad as it was, or even worse than it was before? You know, it's that kind of situation. So there are, unless I know full well that it's willing to help, I'm not going to give up my money for that. But yeah.
Yep. And
I will tell you one thing I do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I'm a lot more for just like, I try to help people that I personally know as well. I feel like for me, that makes a bigger impact. Like if I know that somebody's struggling and I have a bunch of baby stuff, or, you know, this is because I have, you know, 2 children, obviously. So regards to like babies and stuff. But if I know that somebody's struggling, I'll be like, hey, what do you need? You know, do you need anything? Do you need something that I can maybe help out with? I used to like get a bunch of free formula, like coupons, and like I got free formula samples that I gave to other people just because like I didn't need them. I didn't use that. And, you know, I think more people also just kind of need to do that kind of stuff too, is just like help your neighbor type of thing, build more communities, make sure people are taken care of that, you know, and doesn't mean, you know, giving somebody everything you have, but if you have something that they don't and you are willing to help them, you know, why wouldn't you just do that? And I think that's just more impactful in the end than like you said, KariG, given, you know, donating $1 to some random charity that I don't know where the money's actually going anyway. So
right.
I was gonna say though, I am a sucker. I don't know why. And I know, like I said, I worked at a store, I know how it works. I am a sucker for Red Dot Day. For you go to Walgreens and you get you get a little like a red clown nose, or you get a little red nose. I'm such a sucker for that. Like I don't know why. It's like you get I don't know why, but I just love it. And I like feel like I'm hoping it's going somewhere, even though like I said, I know I work for a store, so I know they've already donated and they get all this stuff, but I don't know why whenever I'm like I just feel good when I get that like red nose.
my work
I have no idea what you're talking about with that. I've never been involved.
My work did like an event one time for it. I used to work at a casino and in security, and we did like a whole thing for it. We had to wear all the red noses and take a picture and stuff.
It's just super cute. I don't know why.
I can't remember what it is now. It's like child
red. I can't remember what it's for either. I just know.
Hold on, let me look it up.
It's for children. I know that.
It's to end the cycle of child poverty and ensure a healthy future for all children.
Okay. Well, yeah, I do it for the nose. I don't know. I know it's weird.
I do have to say, I take it he's actually, Oblivion does know KariG as well, but I take it he's talking about you, Ashley. Oblivion popped in. He says, she is such a kind soul. We must protect her. I guess he's talking about you. Not like KariG isn't, but we already know. Like Oblivion's part of the gaming group that we have too. So
yeah, you guys all know each other. Yeah, no.
But as far as this goes, like I'm going to be honest. I don't see like an end to this conversation at all for any of it. This is always going to be something that's very emotionally charged and very divided between every single person. Do you guys know of any kind of idea that would help to mend that divide anymore?
I mean, I think, the problem is the left is getting farther and farther left, and their attempts of normalizing abortion have turned into dehumanizing babies. And a lot of people don't see the value in the value of children in general now. Like there's just it's very strange because it's almost like so many more women are being told, don't have kids. Kids are a waste of your time. Focus on yourself. Just do whatever you want for yourself. And then right now, there's a whole lot of women who are in their mid to late 30s who are realizing they feel like they missed out on this really important part of just being a person, of having your own children and playing that nurturing role and seeing them grow and develop into their own people. And, I just think we need to kind of bring it back to a point where, we are acknowledging that these are people. They are humans. They are babies. They are they're just unborn. They're just developing. And like I said, me personally, I know a whole lot of pro-lifers who are very staunch and stern, and they see it as there's no negotiables. But I do think in order to get to a place where we are seeing the value of children more, like I said, I am willing to make some legal compromises, just in the regards of SA and stuff like that. But so many people are using this for a birth control, and maybe if it wasn't as readily available, more people would practice safer sex in general, which you should anyway, because like Kari said earlier, STDs and STIs, and apparently that has just flown out the window, of people taking into consideration that there are lifelong STIs you can get that it's not fun, so.
Yeah, me, personally there, I've had a lot of unprotected encounters myself. Thankfully, I've never been burnt. Nothing ever came up. I've never had a child out of that, even though I don't understand how that could be a thing. I should have at least 2 running around, but I don't, that I know of. But no.
You probably check into that.
I'm pretty sure that somebody would have said something if that were the case. But yeah, with things like that, I don't. Until we can come to the determination beforehand of at least everybody having a say, I don't think there is any kind of anything that could mend that divide, or at least bring both sides to a certain understanding in any way. It's just like the more we push, the more we try to find that middle ground, the deeper the divide gets. It's really, really weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think we've gone a really long way from promoting family values. And I don't even care what your family looks like. I don't care what it's comprised of. I don't care what it's made up of. In regards to, a mom and a dad, or 2 moms or 2 dads, or if you have a family, let's embrace that again and bring that back into our culture, instead of, the younger generation is just in this hookup culture. Just have sex whenever. I feel like, not to sound like a prude, I guess, but I feel like it should just be more meaningful than that. I was really promiscuous when I was young, way too young to be doing that kind of shit. But when I look back on it now, it's like, Jesus Christ, you weren't valuing yourself enough. And you're just looking for someone to show you affection. That's how I felt, is I just wanted somebody to love me, essentially. And so I made the choice to go and do all these things. And, I didn't meet my husband. I met my husband when I was 15, but I got with my husband for good when I was 19. And once we started dating, and I realized the connection that we had, I just regretted that so much. And I just, thought damn, man, this is what love is. It's not sleeping around with people. It's not looking for validation that way. Look for a person that you would want to spend the rest of your life with. And maybe it doesn't work out in the end, but I think that's a better thing to tell, especially younger kids, than just, oh, we know you're going to do it anyway, so just, good luck. I don't know. I feel like it's just gotten far away from this is something that should be special and important, and you should do when you're ready, and not when you're 15. So,
well, coming from somebody who's, all right, I'm just going to give it away. I've been married now for coming up on 4 years. Before my wife, I was with 37 other people. I've only had a real emotional connection with 2 others. One of them I spent 5 years with the woman, was actually going to ask her to marry me. And then she wound up moving back to California out of the blue and never really told me why till 3 years after the fact. But, you know, the other woman that I had a deep emotional connection with was, you know, I literally grew up with her most of my life. Is actually the woman that I was talking about earlier that, you know, gave her whole abortion story. And, you know, I've known my wife since fourth grade, but, you know, we kind of lost touch along the way, and just kind of out of the blue, I was bored one night and I was just like, just hit her up on Facebook. I was like, hey, let's go out. Let's have a dinner. You know, let's talk. Let's catch up. And we did that. And the way she laid it out, she's just like, okay, so this is going to happen. This is going to be a thing. This is the way it's going to be. I fucking loved it. You know, she laid out everything for me. She gave me all expectations up front. I didn't have to play any stupid BS games. But the other people, it was just like it was something to do. Honestly, looking back, that's all it was. It was something to do, and it's glorified in our situation now. In our culture, it's glorified. Our movies, our TV, music, everything just glorifies sex like it's some big thing. And if you ain't doing it, then there's something wrong with you, you know? Mm-hmm. But nobody ever comes, you know, they never speak about the responsibilities behind it if, for instance, that creates a life, you know? So these kids hear everything and they grow up into that situation to, once it becomes pregnant, or once the woman becomes pregnant, it's like a situation of nobody knows what the fuck to do anymore because nobody's been prepared for any of that, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's frustrating too because, like, you know, like if my own daughter were to have an unplanned pregnancy super young, I would want nothing more than to support her and to make sure that her and that baby were taken care of and loved. And, you know, I would do anything I could. And so when I hear about parents who say just cruel things like, well, if you ever get pregnant, I'm going to kick you out in the street. Or, you know, when I was young, my adoptive mom, which I was adopted by circumstance, that's a whole freaking other story. But my adoptive mom used to tell me that if I were to ever get pregnant before I was 18, she would force me to get an abortion, whether I wanted it or not. And, you know, there's a lot of people in that situation, and it's really heartbreaking. And I think parents need to do a much better job of making sure that you're teaching your kids the right things. And if it doesn't work out and something happens and a mistake occurs, that you are supporting your children and their children. And not necessarily financially supporting, but, you know, making sure that you're there, making sure that you're help guide your kids and to make the proper decisions.
Right. Well, okay. I was gonna ask KariG. Okay.
The funniest thing is, I was literally just having this conversation with my daughter the other day because she's already 17, and I had baby when I was 15. And I was going back in both ways. There's two.
This is what happens.
She's a busy lady.
Oh yeah, she is.
So I was telling her because I was way back in the day. I would always tell her, I don't understand why all these young girls get pregnant and then the grandparents take care of the babies and whoop-de-whoop. I would be like, oh, hell no. And then this is what I told her. I go, see, baby, because I don't have kids. I can't have kids anymore. So I would tell her, you know, if you have that baby, you can just give it to me, him, her, whatever it is, and I'll take care of it. You can go down with the rest of your life. Supportive, no, right? But the whole part of that was communication, talking, and making sure that you're listening at the same time, because that, I think, is the biggest part that we have with anybody, any relationship, youth, any kind of relationship across the board. Communication is key, and that's what we lack nowadays because we're so busy with day-to-day tasks, and there's so many different things that are. I was just listening to the radio, and they were saying they're doing a study about when people take away their devices and stuff, and how much better clarity they had. They were less what's it called, anxiety, less stress. There was just, it went all the way down. Less what's it called, suicidal thoughts. Like, it was just crazy. I was just like, and it's true, when you take away all that kind of stuff and you just kind of breathe and focus on yourself and not, just release, you feel so
Right.
much better. But you get bored of shit. But you find something to do eventually with your time. But for those, it does really. But to me, like I said, in any kind of life, communication. That's what we're lacking nowadays with
Yeah.
anybody. So
So,
that's my opinion.
For you, Kari, do you see any kind of anything that would point towards helping mend the divide between pro-life and pro-choice?
It's gonna sound really funny, but my thing would be mending that would be the people that are the opposite opinions. Give them one of those pregnancy things. Let them kind of fill it out, or put the other ones through the kind of thing where they would have to figure out how life would be if you had that abortion. Kind of give people that kind of. I don't even know how you do it. To be honest with you, virtual reality. I really don't know how you'd be able to put somebody in that mind frame so they could understand exactly what they're doing and kind of, help their emotions go through it, because that's what sometimes it is. It's an irrational thought, irrational thinking, and not enough time into it for them to actually have a good kind of answer for what they're going to do. You know what I mean? Like the whole consequences and everything of the actions that they're actually going to do. I don't know how you get somebody in that kind of mind frame to give them enough thought process of what they're actually about to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you would be able to
Yeah.
do that, but
Well, did you
For-
know
to be
that?
able to-
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you know that Planned Parenthood doesn't give women like ultrasounds like before an abortion? And I believe that so the woman doesn't see the baby.
No, they
and see
do.
what-
They do, because when I did mine, they did it, but they don't show me, and they don't tell you like what it is. They have to do it because they have to know how the months are. They have to know like what the status of the fetus. Like they have to do it, but they don't give you, the person's having it, any of that
and that's
information.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is they need to be showing these women that this is this is what
Has a
this
heartbeat,
is, and this
and
is
like that's what.
so that
Well,
at least
that would be kind of like what I'm saying too. Like the whole,
Mhm.
give them that whole kind of,
yes,
I guess that thought process to be able to really understand what they're doing.
informed consent. At least if you know what's happening. I feel like a lot of young women especially are almost being brainwashed in a way to believe all these crazy things and not see it for what it is. And so I think it's just really important to acknowledge what it is and make sure that everyone knows 100% what they are doing before they exactly like you're saying. Show them the ultrasound, show them the baby moving, and maybe they would change their mind. You never know.
But then again, Planned Parenthood is a nefarious organization
Yeah.
altogether, especially from what it was conceived from the start. It's
Mhm.
fucked up altogether. But yeah, that's different topic. That that's going to be something that's definitely racially charged if we got into that. But it to me, all this situation, it literally just stems down to personal responsibility. If you were responsible yourself, you knew what you were doing, you knew the actions as far as that goes, you knew from the start of it, yeah, okay, in the moment, you don't give a damn. Nobody really does at that point, It doesn't hit you, hey, if I take my pants off and do this for this guy, I could have a baby. There could be that. The condom could fail. My birth control, taking antibiotics on birth control makes the birth control not work. A lot of people don't know that. You know, that's a big thing too. It's
Well, and stuff like that, like just that's the frustrating part is I believe like what is it? I believe the stat is like 54, 56% of women who have abortions claim to have used some type of contraception. But that's the thing is a lot of user error goes into failing birth control or not doubling up. Like, I don't know, double up. Like if you're
not
taking
on
a
the
pill.
because that causes too much friction and breaks. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, if you're taking a pill, make sure he's wearing protection. Make sure it's not 2 years old or 6 months old. You know, make sure it's all new and properly sized and all that good stuff. You know.
Let's see. Has someone the special? Okay, sorry. One of the people that backed out just messaged me about it.
Too late.
I mean, we're already 2 hours in, so
yeah.
No, I mean, it just comes down to a personal responsibility kind of aspect with that, and you can't really have informed consent if you're not informed. You know, I remember growing up, especially in schools. That for me, that was a time frame when parents were just like, well, the school system should teach my child about sex ed. I shouldn't have to. That should be the school kind of situation. Look where it led to now. My whole birds and the bees topic came from school. Like anything else from that, I would have to come home and talk to my parents about if I wanted more information about it. But it's embarrassing to know that your parents were banging to make you. It's like one of those things you just don't want to do. But I
communication.
Don't think
that's what people lack with their children. I talk to my daughter about any kind of thing. I always tell her, do not be afraid to ask me, because that is where we mess up. Because we're skittish about that, then maybe we shouldn't be doing that either. Like, I know it's a weird kind of thing to have a conversation, but it needs to be said.
I'm going to be honest, though. Coming back from my childhood, look, all right, it's traumatizing when you see your parents doing the dirty. All right, I don't want to talk about them doing the dirty as how I came about, but it does need to be said. It does need to be talked about from the parent's standpoint, because the parents are going to tell you more than the school system will.
Well, like my mom is my best friend. I talk to her about every dirty, ugly, nice, everything. There's no holds barred.
That's nice.
Oblivion just said, I never learned about the birds and the bees. I had to learn on my own. See, that's the problem.
Discovery is a beautiful thing.
It's interesting because it's like, I don't know. I mean, my husband and I have talked about this at length. We both grew up in a really small, like, rural town. But I mean, they were like, both of us at some point had someone, a family, say, hey, like, if you need condoms, you just let me know and I'll make sure you get those. And like, let's have safe, make sure you have safe sex and stuff like that. And, like the school sex ed kind of taught me a little bit and all that. But I feel like we both just like knew pretty early into our teen years that like, hey, if you're gonna have sex, use protection, because sex can make a baby, and you don't want that. So just avoid it at all costs if you can. And I think like parents need to step the fuck up. Obviously I have toddlers, so I have quite a few years to go. But parents to teenagers and stuff like that, you need to be taught, like, just like KariG said, you need to be talking about this kind of stuff. And I don't think the school is where kids should learn about sex ed. Like, we should have sex ed for high schoolers and stuff like that. And a little, like, I think my sex ed started in like middle school, but they started by teaching you about STIs. That's where it started. It was, hey, this is what could possibly happen, and these are the repercussions. And it was kind of like a little bit of a jolt, like, hey, this is serious stuff, kid. Like, Yeah,
it was a scare tactic.
But now, like, sex ed has gone off the rails, and, they're teaching kids about stuff that they shouldn't be in the first place, I think. Just in regards to other types of sex, it's like, let's teach kids about safe sex in all regards, but also how a baby is made. I think that's pretty important in avoiding the making of the baby. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think that's a big problem too, is sex ed is being conflated to an issue that it shouldn't really be,
Let's see. Joseph Santos popped in here. He said, "Hey guys, dude, you were supposed to be involved here too. What happened to you?" But he says, "Hey guys, mine started in 6th grade, and I think I got a refresher in the 7th or 8th grade."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like
same.
that was about that too. It for me, it was like she said, it was more along the lines of, "Hey, look, this is the male part. This is the female part. The male part goes here. Now let's talk about AIDS and herpes and all this." And God, Jesus Christ! Now you scared the shit out of me. No, I'm not gonna
It
say
doesn't stop kids, though. It doesn't stop them.
But when hormones really kick in, all that goes out the window. You don't remember that. You don't think about that. You don't care because it's human nature at that point. It's like, once you start to hit puberty, sex drive becomes pretty much everything to children, and
well, maybe boys. I don't think it's that way.
Yeah, boys. I mean, I guess Kari had problems again.
Oh no.
But it says I set the reminder for tomorrow. Oh, you good, man? You good?
No, and I think though, you bringing that up, I think that's why we really need to. Our culture is so like focused on sex and making it just not like a nonchalant thing that just happens and it doesn't mean anything. And I think that greatly does a disservice to younger people because they look at it as just something that everyone does and you don't have any type of emotional connection. Whereas like a young girl is gonna, and maybe boys go through this too, I don't know. But for me, it was a very emotional thing and it was an emotional connection. And, I think we should just we really need to come back to a place of like, this should be something special. It should be not taken lightly. You shouldn't just do it with whoever, and I think we've just strayed so far from that.
Oh, yeah,
and it's not every, and I don't think it should be ever approached from like a religious aspect, either, especially if, because I'm not religious, like none of my views are based on religion. It's just like, let's not minimize things that are actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a point with that too. It's, if you want to take it to a religious aspect because you are religious, I'm okay with that too. That's your choice. That's your kids, your body. It's whatever you want to believe with that too. But I mean, it's it shouldn't be a religious thing forced down everybody's throats as far as that's concerned. So yeah, I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm not like a big like wait until marriage proponent, because I don't really think that's realistic for most people unless they get married really young. But I think it should be more of along the lines of like, wait for someone who you might want to marry or who you could see yourself, you know what I mean? Look at it from that perspective. Like, just make sure you're engaging in this act with someone who you value and who truly values you as well. Because I think that's a big issue too, is like maybe
with your time.
Yeah, but so
okay, Russian friend, this is not gonna make his English isn't on par with the rest of us, but he does pretty damn good. He's a Russian buddy of mine. He says, for girls and women who want make abortion, I always say your mother was. All right, I guess I'm going to translate this a little bit better for him. For girl and women who wanted abortion, I always say your mother must make an abortion. Had to make the. I guess he's saying he had to make the decision on abortion before your birth. If you don't want a baby, use medicine, which contraceptives, things like that.
Yeah, just prevents it.
Not let boy do the love explosion inside. I'm censoring that so this doesn't get pulled down. Learn how right use woman's calendar. Yeah, actually, he brought up a good point. With that as well. There is a certain time during ovulation where women can get pregnant. So, I mean, you do.
It's a very small time frame. And Kari brought up a really great point, and she said that some women, really know their bodies, and a lot do not. And I think it is so important for women to know their own bodies and understand how your own body works. And, for us as mothers to be teaching our daughters, okay, look, like, this is how this all works. This is how it breaks down on a calendar. This is the period of time that you could potentially get pregnant, because it is a relatively small period of time in regards to like the 30 days, So I think that's really important too, is just people don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
My wife actually does. She tells me every time when she's ovulating. She tells me every time because, I mean, her sex drive goes through the roof during that time. But
yeah, and that's common.
I mean, she's got a higher sex drive than I do as that goes. But I mean, it's just like Jesus. But yeah,
I never know when I'm ovulating. I've never known. I just never know. I just know that I'm going to start my period, and then my period's really weird. So it'll do this rotating thing where I'll be like at the very beginning, I'll have my period for like 2-3 days sometimes. Sometimes it's for 2 days. Sometimes it's for 7 days. And then by the time I'm done, it'll go throughout the month, and then I'll start again. It's really weird. That's why I don't know. And maybe because I'm older too now, that now it's like maybe sometime menopause will set in, and then that's going to mess me up too.
Yeah.
I've never known that. So it's really important for people to talk to their children about knowing when you're ovulating and stuff like that, because I was like, I had no clue.
And there are a lot of signs of it, and like, it's funny because when I got pregnant, I found out at 4 weeks, which is 4 weeks pregnant is actually only 2 weeks after conception, because how they calculate the time is from the date of the first day of your last menstrual cycle. So that's why it ends up being like 40 weeks, but you're only pregnant for 9 months type of thing. It gets a little confusing. But yeah, so I was literally like 2 weeks pregnant, technically 2 weeks after conception. And I physically I felt it. Like I felt it like kick in. And I had like the worst cramps of my life. Like I was writhing in pain on the bathroom floor. It was the worst experience ever. But it only lasted for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, I should probably go take a test, because it was a planned pregnancy. But yeah, so it's just really interesting just how different that can be. But yeah, I wasn't like that my whole life, and I didn't understand a lot of that kind of stuff. And it was only once I actually started thinking about getting pregnant that I started looking into, okay, when is my ovulation, and when does that happen, and how can I tell? And I think that needs to be part of a young girl learning about her body in the first place.
I mean, that should be part of any kind of sex ed, but that is left out. Like, they do mention it, but they never go into detail as far as, okay, these are the signs, these are the things you need to look for. This usually happens on a cycle. It can get interrupted, but it usually happens on a cycle of, in a certain period of time. We got Joseph Santos back here. He said, people who seek as many partners as possible should know that they have a place to go. Monogamy isn't for everyone, just like we don't all have the same personalities. You're correct. And, with my whole standpoint on that, the whole save yourself for marriage thing, all great. Really, it's all great in theory. But here's my issue with that. I can love you deep down in my heart, my soul, everything. Everything about you is just perfect for me. But if I don't have that physical connection with you, is it worth it? And you're not going to know if you have that physical connection if you wait.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think it's realistic for anyone to really wait until marriage, unless it's like, their reason is like a religious reason. But from my own personal experience, yeah, I wish I would have waited a hell of a lot longer because like I could have literally just like 19 years old. I literally, I spent my entire 20s with him. And
It would be a life changer.
Yeah, it would have. I don't know, but
I
it's
wish I
also
would've
like
waited.
Clearly.
Or not been such a man whore
Yeah.
myself. Either one.
Calmed it down a little bit. Like, yeah, it was, yeah. But that's also what happens when, like, because I came from a really, really bad background too. And I just didn't have anyone guiding me. And I think that's where a lot of young people who end up kind of in those situations to begin with, that's what's happening, is because they're not being guided. Nobody is there looking out for them and making sure that they have, all the information that they need. Yep. And, that's why it's just really like, be better parents, guys. For, not you guys, but, just everybody else out there.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It could be your best friend, or it could be a counselor, or it can be there's cousins, aunts, uncles, a neighbor. There's so many people, but communication, as long as you have that somewhere in your life, you know what I mean? That just shows somebody caring about that individual. That makes such a difference. You know what I mean? Because like they always say, it takes a village. It really does take a village, because some parents, like mine growing up, they were fantastic parents until they weren't. And then they were too about their own relationship that their kids weren't even like in the picture. And then they, after everything else, then they're focusing only on themselves. So it started turning into like a selfish kind of matter. Like, and then that's where you're left to fend for your own, that kind of thing. And if you just have that one person that just gives a shit, like I said, it doesn't have to be a parent. As long as somebody has open communication that somebody can go to and talk to, you know what I mean? And that's where a lot of things get messed up too, because nowadays it's hard to trust people because there's so much. I mean, there's always been horrible things out there, but now with all the technology we have, it's been brought to light a lot more. So now it's in our face, not like where it was hidden. Now we got all the information there, and it's scary world out there to know who we can and can't trust. So it's very hard to have communication and need it, and then go back and forth when you give it to the wrong person. So it's every single subject has a negative and a positive, and that's what makes life just so difficult. But it could be so easy. Like, it's just always a yin and yang to everything. Every possibility has something negative for it. So,
well,
it's always
and
back and forth.
And it is frustrating because a lot of people on both sides of this issue just look at it as if it's so clear cut and so crystal clear. I have spent 5 years thinking about largely this issue because it is really important to me. And it's frustrating because like a lot of talking points that people use are based on like kids who grew up in poverty and kids in the foster care system and kids who are abused and all this stuff. And it's like, I grew up in poverty. I almost was in the foster care system. I went through a lot of these things. I have experienced, violations to me and stuff like that. And it's just very frustrating because like people.
And that doesn't make you who you are.
Yeah, for sure. And I've risen above all of that. And that's the thing is, I hear so many people say, well, if you're born into poverty, you'll never get out. And it's like, no, that's so untrue. And it's just not right. And, I have it as soon as I became an adult, I worked my ass off to try to change my circumstances to make it so my children will never experience the things that I went through as a child. And, you said like the parents got really selfish and stuff like that. That was my parent. My parent was extremely selfish and self-centered and did not give a shit about me. And I've been taking care of myself since I was like 10 years old. Like,
how did you wind up the way you did then?
Me?
Yeah. I mean, from what you're saying, your past and everything, it's just like you should have been one hell of a POS How the hell
Yeah.
did you wind up the way you are?
Well, I was a POS when I was like 18 years old.
I mean, that's every kid, though. I mean, in your younger
Yeah,
days,
no.
you're not going to give a damn about anything. But
No, I appreciate that though. No, yeah, and that's the interesting part is you're never a product of your environment. You never
No.
have to end up where you start, and I think that's just something that people need to remember.
I think that because like I was like about the same. I was about 8 years old, basically raising myself, walking home, feeding myself, basically everything. Like
Doing your own
watching,
laundry,
just doing everything on my own. I don't even know how I did it. Like for real. Like I look at kids nowadays and I couldn't imagine my kids doing that. I
seriously, every
for
time
the
I'm
life of
always
me,
like,
I'm like,
I was left alone at like 6 years old, just on my own, and I just knew, like, don't touch the stove, like, don't do that. I would never leave a 6-year-old
the
alone.
weirdest thing. It's the thrive life. Like it just makes you who you are, I think, and it's people that come from circumstances and those kind of harsh kind of reality. Not everybody, but you make it who you are, and you. For me, like you always strive to be something better. Like my sister grew up in the same kind of environment. She has her PhD. She has like
sorry, my son
written
cares.
medical books. Like she's just done it all. Like just I always wonder how the hell did you do that? Because I wanted it. I wanted it and I made it what it is. That's it. No matter, what you come from, you never let that make you who you are. It's the biggest thing where people kind of, if you let it get to you, which is hard, because sometimes you're in that kind of homeless or whatever, you feel like you're never going to get out of it. And then you do one day. And you just keep on breathing and keep on getting better. Like there's just so much different kinds of varieties of things that people go through. But you never let that make you who you are. You decide to choose to be who you are. And the same thing with abortion, all the other stuff. You have a choice. So just make the right one for you. Because no one can ever tell you what's the right choice for you, no matter what. Like,
no.
They never know what kind of shoes in life you've lived in. You know what I mean? So.
No, but making the selfish choice of ending a life because you just don't want it. That's a situation that needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
but
that. Yeah.
Joseph, I'm dude, I'm gonna need some clarification on this because I don't understand what you're saying here. He said to them, cheating is sleeping. Anyone that isn't in the union, 5 members, 1 cheats, and that one gets kicked out of the union. I don't know what you're referring to with that. So I'm gonna need a little bit of clarification.
But about like polyamory or something.
Oh, if that, I don't know. That's a good question. How did that work out in this situation? Like, if I was in an open marriage and my wife got pregnant, if it was from some other dude, I don't know how I could respond to that. Look at the previous comment. Oh, I didn't see this one. I was switching around shit. No, I'm sorry. Some people do have more than one connection. There are documentaries about this. 5 people would live together and share each other, then even have a concept. Okay, so yeah, okay, I get you. Okay. So yeah, I guess it would be a polyamory situation with that, is what he was saying. I apologize, dude. I skipped over that one.
That's too much, man. It's hard enough dealing with one person and having a good connection with one person and making sure you're taking care of all their needs. Shit. I don't need any more. That shit's great. It's not crazy. I'm not trying to judge, but like.
I tap out.
I'm going to be honest with y'all. My wife and her anxiety problems is, I mean, I love her to death. But the anxiety, I couldn't imagine having that with 2 other people or even another person involved, because like, okay, we had a water main break in the house and I had to fix that. And then about a year later, it broke again and I had to fix that. Since it happened the first time, at least 2 times a week, she's like, the water's okay, right? Check the water, make sure. And I'm just like, because she's always worried about that, And so I couldn't imagine having that with just her and somebody else. I just it just
Yeah.
be like a shining situation for me at that point, you know? All work and no play just makes me a dull boy. But
I
yeah,
feel you on that because imagine me with two of my husbands.
no. I'm not gonna
Thank
go
you.
through that. No.
No. It didn't happen. It ain't happening. One's enough.
Joseph says if your
Mhm.
wife tells
No,
you it's somebody else's baby, this is the only response, and a flip off emoji. But if it's a polyamory situation, it's an open marriage kind of thing. It's something that you
those are two different
actually-
things.
Well, yeah.
Those
but-
are two different things. An open marriage is not the same as because the distinction for polyamory is that all of those people are in a relationship together. And an open is just you're out doing, or like swingers, or like two couples. There's just a lot of variations that all that shit encompasses.
That is true, but I with a situation like that, it's still that it's your choice kind of situation. You can't say, well, hey, because I allowed this to happen, go fuck off. I'm not gonna say that if that were a thing. Like I have been in polyamorous relationships and somewhat open relationships, and it's a problem. It is. It really is, because it comes down to a point of, I really do care about this person. I want to try to develop a relationship with this person. But then again, is this person, oh, well, I have to stay at work late tonight. Are you at work, or are you with somebody that I don't know about? If I know, hey, it might be a good idea. It might be okay situation, but that thing is always going to be in the back of your mind. It's always going to cause a divide in that. So I don't really see it being a viable option.
I think people are monogamous by nature. I think some people might deviate from that norm, just as anything else. There's always deviations from the norm of in any regard. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that I don't understand how you could develop a real, true emotional relationship, connection, attachment with several people all at the same time. I mean, like my husband and I have been together for 11 years, and I've known him for 15 years. It's and we've learned and we've grown and we've changed together because we grew up essentially together. Like I was 19 and he was in his really early 20s when we got together. And it's like we had to grow up into adults, and you do a lot of changing in there, and you got to reassess constantly and figure out where your relationship is and who is where and how you've changed, and can we keep growing together, type of thing, which is why we took so long to get married. We waited like 8 years to get married because we just wanted to make sure it was the right decision, and but yeah, I don't know, the people who say, well, people shouldn't be monogamous. I mean, maybe you shouldn't, but I think the majority of people probably just are by nature just monogamous because it's just more, I just think it should be just a deep connection with another human being.
Oh yeah, definitely. We got Thork back here. He said, just write in chat, not read by voice. Love explosion. Word some aggressive. You should replace that word with so many. We have to, dude, because with Abel being gone on his vacation and moving to Texas all at the same time, I have both the YouTube and Twitch side. Some of the rules for YouTube does not apply to Twitch, and some of the rules for Twitch does not apply to YouTube. So I have to kind of walk that line. Like, we've already gone off the rails, and this show should have already been shut down, honestly, from like episode 1. I'm not even gonna lie. But since we're not that big, well known at this point in time, we're not censored as much yet. But Oblivion said, F that, then don't marry. That's usually what happens. And well, there are some like polyamorous and open relationships that are married.
Not legally, though.
Not legally, no. Marriage has to happen between. Well, there are some religious exemptions between that?
That's what I was about to say. That one show that has My Sister Wives and their
It's still
no,
illegal.
I don't want to
That.
say what they are because I don't want to get them wrong.
Yeah, I
But
know
yeah, they have
you're
like
talking about
7
Sister Wives.
wives.
So it's
But it's bigamy no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Like periods bigamy.
Yeah. God, why is the term escaping me? It's because we said polyamory, so now that's all I can think of. But it's not that. But yeah, when like a man has more than one wife, yeah, it's still illegal.
But they all had they all literally you saw them literally all get married, like legit.
yeah,
Like,
Yes.
but they were
but I think it's only bigamy if
spiritual.
somebody. Oh, okay. I was gonna say maybe it's only bigamy when you call the person out, be like, "You're married to me first," and then it's. But no, maybe bigamy's just bigamy.
No, so
I'm not sure.
what happens when like
You have to get called out first.
oh God, what is the term, dude? I can't think of it.
I can't remember what it's called.
It's like fundamentalist Mormons.
I wanted to say Mormon too, but I'm like, I don't think it's
Polygamy.
I don't want somebody being mad at me.
There we go, polygamy. That's why I get it confused with polyamory, because when I say that word, I can't think of the word polygamy. But yeah, polygamy is illegal in the United States. But what happens is a man will marry the first wife legally, and then the other ceremonies are like religious ceremonies. They're never legally acknowledged or anything like that, because you can't be married to two people.
Right.
Because like in that show, Sister Wives, what he did was he had married the first wife, Mary, and then at some point they actually got legally divorced so he could marry his newest wife, the fourth wife, and then so he could adopt her children, so that like her children, if anything happened to her, like he would go to him or whatever. So yeah, and it's really interesting when you start breaking that down, because like those relationships get crazy too. So
I wonder how it goes down with all them having kids, like how that goes down, with like, we went back to the thing about, what's it, brother, sister, cousin, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, I wonder what goes on in that, kids are going to be kids. They're going to, shit happens, cousins and blah, blah, blahs. And, it's like setting the ground for some weird stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
Look,
that's the interesting part.
You're giving Abel ammunition against me because he's already on the fact that I live in Alabama. My wife is my cousin wife. All right. So you're giving him more ammunition against me. Calm down.
Technically, cousins. There's not really much like any like deformities or anything that can happen. Which so that's funny. I just like learning how other people live. So. Yeah, for sure. That gets messed up.
So that face, I'd be like,
It's a cousins were involved, first cousins and everything like that. It's still what from the divide.
It's wrong.
It's blood because it's first, like your first cousin.
But it's
that's
still
blood somehow, but not like.
It would still only be a quarter of the DNA, as far as
there's not nearly like the genetic components of that. Like there's not any really big genetic issues that come out of that. And the only reason I even know that was because I watched I went on like a YouTube binge on like a show about cousins who were like different cousins who were marrying, and like their families had to accept it and stuff. And I was like, this is so intriguing. Like this is wild to me.
It really is. It makes you wonder. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so
no, thank you.
Joseph says, in my mind, if you're going to marry more than one person, move to Utah and only marry wealthy Chinese women for a fee. And you're looking for polygamy. He also says, dude, it's your cousin. Leave her be.
Sugar daddy. Sugar mama.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with that. Sure. I'm not trying to sleep with my cousins either, because I grew up with y'all sons of bitches.
Back in the day, they used to have that where the cousin that would be wealthy or whatever, and then they would marry like the younger, which I would go back to, I guess, keto kind of thing, marry like the 13-year-old, and he's like 20-something, but he's rich, so it's okay, you can have her and their cousins or whatever. Or like back in the day where, say, the family would die, someone would die, so they'd have to take care of, like, they end up getting married because they're cousins or whatever, or they'd get passed down to, to be taken care of and stuff. So I love watching that kind of era. So I'm like,
in like a lot of like fundamentalists, like Mormons, which are like the kind of the more the religion that does like polygamy and stuff. In a lot of those communities, like uncles will marry nieces and all that kind of stuff. It gets real.
They keep it in the family. They keep it all in the
Yeah,
family.
and like that was a big thing in like royalty, to keep the bloodlines pure, quote unquote. And that's why there eventually became all these like genetic problems and deformations and stuff like that. And genetic disorders too, is because they were doing so much inbreeding to try to keep their bloodlines pure, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, going back to the very start of the conversation and everything, that's why I would be okay with an abortion for incest, because a lot of genetic deformities, I know this is going to sound horrible, but a lot of genetic deformities and the way everybody perceives things. So a life is a life and it should be able to be taken care of. But when you get old enough and you become an adult, you pass down these genetic deformities to other people. These things to keep it.
I'm gonna have to challenge that.
I have a question about that. Yeah, because I was saying, what about if I knew I had a what is it called? Now I can't say it. If I know I have a deposition kind of thing that's going to happen, that's passed down to generation because of my DNA or whatever, does that tell me that I shouldn't have kids then? Because I know they're going to have some sort of deformity or some sort of, it could be simple as dyslexia to going all the way to, having.
That's not what I'm
saying. Does that give me the right to be like I'm going to have an abortion?
Just because it's
that's what I'm saying. Like,
just because it's incest, it shouldn't be a forced kind of thing. But that's when I'm saying I would be okay with it if the mother were to choose that.
But that's what I'm saying. Would it be okay if I knew I had okay, you know how they have those tests that you can do to figure out if your kids are going to have something when they're born or whatever? Does that give me the right to be able to be like, man, let's get rid of this one. We'll try again for another one because I know that this kid's going to have, issues that I'm going to have to deal with raising them later on. Well, and if I choose to take that on.
It would all come down to, the deformity itself. I mean, if you got lobster claws for hands,
hey, that's original, Joe.
You're going to have problems, but if it comes down to a thing to where genetically speaking, you were deformed, like your organs are outside of your body or something like that, and viably speaking, you're not going to live long in any way. They can, but viably speaking, it's kind of a harder situation,
Well, what about what is it called, Mongolism or whatever, where they're born but they're only to 20 something or 40, they only live a certain lifespan. Now, would you be like, okay, well, I know they're gonna die early, so they won't have a full life, so let's not give them life at all? Like, you know what I mean? It's very fine line to being like,
you're right. And that's why I would say that decision is up to you in that. It's not up for me to decide, just because there is something that, could affect that and the child may not live long enough. That's not up to me to say, you need to have that life no matter what. That is up to you to say, do I want to go through that pain of seeing my child for 5, 6, 10 years and then all of a sudden they pass away? Should I put you through that pain because of that reason?
Okay, so I'd like to bring something up because right now we're talking about eugenics. That's what we're talking about. In
a certain way, yeah.
No, it is. It is. Saying that somebody doesn't deserve or doesn't have, doesn't deserve the right to life based on potential suffering, because of genetic disorders, like. To put it into perspective, babies with Down syndrome, about 70 to I think it's 70 to 90% of kids with Down syndrome are aborted, and I don't think that's right. And a lot of people with Down syndrome speak out on that and express how much it upsets them that society doesn't view them as whole people. And that's what eugenics is. It's controlling the population based on Yeah, it's controlling the population based on potential inherited diseases, genetic disorders, that kind of thing. Race also plays a big issue in that, but we're going to leave that completely out of the conversation right now because I don't want to get into that. But
No.
yeah.
Not yet.
But yeah, like saying, you know, that we should eliminate a certain type of genetic disorder by eliminating the people with that genetic disorder is like eugenics.
I mean, I can understand that, but with my whole line of thinking, like, you know, I said at the beginning, yeah, rape, incest, health of the mother kind of situation. Those are the only things where I'm going to say, I'll leave it up to you. You know, because that is your choice as far as that's concerned. Who am I to say you must have this child because of these certain things? You know, that's kind of like, that is enforcing my will and my beliefs onto you. Now, if it were a situation where you sleep around constantly and you had a kid, well, now you need to be responsible for your actions at that point. But I mean, that's why I've made that kind of excuse for that. Is just, I understand at that point, like, my voice should not have a say in that. Card. You know, but.
Yeah, I guess I just view it a lot differently because I view it as we need to protect the children. We need to protect the babies. And it's
in a sense that might be because that person isn't even having the proper kind of thought process that or he or whoever, they're going out and making these bad decisions on their life where it keeps having the same consequences. And then what does that bring to the child when they're bringing them? But I can't say child being a mother, that's changed my perspective on different things. So maybe that would have saved them from making those choices.
Well, and a lot of, you know, that's the thing too, is like, you know, I feel like a lot of people think that if you have an unplanned pregnancy, even if you have one young, then it's going to ruin your life, quote unquote. But I've seen anecdotally, and I've seen quite the opposite. I have seen girls that I knew growing up get pregnant at a very young age and have kids and absolutely thrive. And their kids made them better people. And having children opened their eyes and made and made them realize that, holy shit, I need to stop. Like, I need to stop making these really bad choices, and because now I have this whole other person that I need to take care of and make sure I make good decisions for. So, you know, maybe for some people it quote unquote ruins their life, but I think a whole lot more end up when they're holding their baby in their arms, they realize that this is the time that I get to step up and make sure my child's life was better than mine, you know, and I think that's beautiful. So.
Yes.
Yep, it is. But some people don't take it that way. That's the thing. Some people, it turns them inside out, and it's heartbreaking to see when people like don't make a better, and I can't really say a better life choice because that's their choice of life or whatever, but be able to take some sort of thing from it and just thrive, you know, just, you know, become a better person, become maybe who they're supposed to be someday, you know, just, you know, it's an opportunity to like restart your life in whichever way it could have been, but you get a reset. Like, this is a whole new life. This is a whole new me. This is a whole new, and I can make it whatever I want. Like, you get this whole new kind of restart. And a lot of people don't get that. And a lot of people don't think of it that way. But to me, it was just like,
you know, it comes down to a point like growing up. To kind of bounce off that, growing up, I was in school with a girl who literally had 3 kids before she entered 10th grade. Okay. And it was a struggle for her. She dropped out. She never became anything because she had 3 children to fend for. You know, well, she became a drug addict and she passed away because of that. Now those 3 kids have no mother. But then again, you know, I grew up with in school with a girl who had a child in the 8th grade, and she became an excellent mother, and she's thriving. She's doing great for her children. She went to college. You know, she's got a great job, And it was all because she got to a point to where she was just like, you know what? I got somebody else I need to take care of now. At a very young age, I've got somebody else I need to take care of now. So this isn't about me anymore. You know, so it all depends on the type of person involved in that at that point.
Yeah. And I think honestly, there's like a victim mentality mindset being pushed by like society in general right now. Where like, you know, I've fallen victim to that myself at times in my life where I'm because it's hard. It's hard when you actually go through really, really tough shit and you're trying to come out the other side. There's always a period within that you feel like I'm a victim and nothing's ever going to be better and I'm always going to have to deal with this shit. But at the end of the day, you don't have to be trapped in that mindset. And I think that's a big thing is, you know, personal responsibility also means trying to overcome things and take and like you said, Kari, is you know, your life is what you make it. Life doesn't have to be horrible, you know. Like my parent was a quote unquote drug addict, and that's kind of weird because people think of like street drugs when you say that, but she was addicted to prescription drugs. And that plays a much different role because it's very easily accessible to get, and it's not like you have to run around the streets, even though she did sometimes run around the streets looking for stuff when she ran out. But you know, I saw that and I went, no, I'm never going to do that. And, you know, when I was young, I definitely experimented with stuff and I definitely partied and I partied hard. But basically, by the time I hit like early 20s, that was out of my system. And I was like, nope, it's time to be a grown up and it's time to be a big girl and it's time to make sure that I don't make fucking really bad decisions. So, yeah, I think it's all just a part of like, you know, wrapping it back around to like this victim mentality. Like you don't have to be a victim of anything really. Now there are people who are legitimately victims of bad things that happen to them, right? But you don't have to live in that mindset constantly. Or you know, conflate things and feel like that's going to be forever because everything is temporary.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Victim of your circumstance.
Yeah,
basically. Nope, you don't have to ever be that way. You don't give in, you just, everything is like same thing. Just gotta stop and breathe. No matter what it is for a moment, just take that moment to breathe. And then you get clarity. And it works for everybody. And some people take a little bit longer to breathe. Just keep breathing and then it'll come to you eventually, but it does come.
Right. Joseph Santos is back in the chat. He says, but yes, most countries have cousin marriage. I think it's second cousins only. That's kind of up to
you can legally get married to your cousin in this country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you can.
Your first cousin. It's totally
I can't
legal.
stand my family, so that's not gonna happen. But Oblivion says it's horrible, Rich. Dude, you know me. I'm gonna say some horrible things. I'm gonna do some horrible things because that's just who I am. In my mind, in my mind, only one way for abortion if pregnant from some criminal action without agreeing. If you want to F just for fun, then you don't want baby. You need operation for cut off birth organs from your belly. No need to kill each baby what was made because your mistake. I guess his kind of consensus is the same as ours. With that, it is broken English. He is Russian. I do apologize, people. But Joseph says, and I partied hard. Yeah, dude. I was gonna say that, but I said it already. I've said it so many times. Fuck yeah, dude. Sorek says the girls who want abortion, they understand or know when they was same baby in mother's belly. Dude, I don't think that crosses a lot of people's minds. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that does. Like, I don't think a lot of people who want an abortion think, well, what if your mother had done the same? I don't think that's something that crosses people's mind because especially for us here in the United States, it's more of it's all about me mentality. You know, it's me, what I want. It doesn't matter what anybody else wants. It's what I want.
You know
But-
what's interesting too is, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what's interesting is I've heard a lot of people talk about like their own mother admitted to them that they considered aborting them and how much that kind of messed them up mentally because it just really upset them that their mother would ever consider that or consider them not a person or consider them not valuable. And, you know, that can really mess you up too, which I know all about that. Like, you know, not being valued just for being who you are or being the person you are or whatever. But yeah, like, I don't think enough people think about it that way.
No.
I also think that can give you a different mentality to make you change your thought on it for you to be able to be like, you know what, I don't want to be like my parents and I won't do that to the person that I may or may not have someday. You know what I mean? So it might change them from having that thinking of I'm 100% this or I'm 100% that.
Well, yeah, I am a product of that. Like, I grew up in my mother was very abusive. My father was there physically, but never mentally, emotionally, or anything like that, unless I needed my ass spanked. I mean, that was the only reason he was he was physically there. But yeah, it's, you know, I do agree with you, Kari, because I chose at a very young age that I will be different from my parents. I will not be like my parents because this cycle comes down to, from what my family was, the mother's the head of the household, the father's abused as shit, and the children are treated like ass. So I'm not going to do that to mine, because if I were, there would be no reason why my wife would be with me at all. You know, she's not the type of person to be the demanding kind of person. You definitely know her, Kari. You've been around for a good minute with her. She's not the type to be demanding or verbally or even physically abusive in any way, shape, or form. But if I were that type of person, I would not be married to my wife right now, and I damn sure wouldn't be happy. So yes, you do have that point. Let's see. Been in the whole chat this time, John. Just listen. Yeah, I got you. Sorry, my English very simple. Sorry, you ain't got nothing to worry about, man. You're Russian. We understand.
Not your first language.
Right. Joseph, you're talking about cousin marriage, but you won't say fuck yeah. Look, I try to censor myself as much as I possibly can. All right. So yeah, it's weird. I get you. Wrong. You got a green screen. Your wife knows you got money. You're talking about this
You
thing
can put a
behind
green
me?
sheet up.
Yeah. This thing behind me that costs $25-$30 to make altogether. Like, dude, half our house is unfinished because the prices of everything are fucking insane. Like, I got drywall and mud on my, look, I'll even show you guys. Seriously. Back that up a little bit. Look at that. I got drywall and mud. I have a subfloor right here because the prices are so damn insane. I ain't got money. All right. Now that I've exposed myself, what's up? No, but let's see. Hey, now you're laughing about it. I see how you are. But yeah, it comes down to, like, literally, I do believe this whole conversation, no matter what, the nuances and everything behind it, the little but this but that kind of situation, it still comes down to personal responsibility. That I feel like pretty much every system that we've become involved with, I feel like it comes down to everybody just does not want to own up to their shit. Literally, that's what it comes down to in damn near every aspect of what our country is here in the United States. Nobody wants to own up to their mistakes. Nobody wants to own up to the things they've done. Nobody wants to take responsibility. The victim mentality, it's all, well, if this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have been in that situation. Well, you allowed that to happen in the first place because you put yourself in that situation. You know, it's not just abortion as far as this is concerned. It is part of it, but it comes down to the whole, look, personal responsibility. Yes, it sounds frightening because you have to hold yourself accountable for the shit you do, but it is incredibly freeing because once you start thinking about things and you're just like, okay, this situation is happening. And the first thought you have in your head is, what did I do to put myself in that situation? It becomes to a point to where if you're constantly asking yourself that, you will avoid that. And those situations will never happen again because you know how to avoid them. It's personal responsibility. It's incredibly freeing once you get to that point in your life where the first question you ask is, what did I do to this? How did I perpetuate this problem? Because it will pop up again in your life. And you know how to avoid it. Yes, the situation may be different. Everything may be a different. The nuances of it may be completely different, but the aspect of it from a larger point of view is still the same. Okay, take this for example. Okay, I got pregnant because I wasn't responsible. I didn't have any birth control. Okay, now it's incredibly hard for me being a single mother or a single father or anything like that because I didn't take responsibility from the start. I've put myself in this situation. Once you realize that, the next time, it's not going to happen. And if it does, Jesus Christ, it's a miracle kind of situation. And I don't even believe, you know, it comes down to that. Once you take responsibility for your own actions, the victim mentality goes away. It really does. Once you start saying, I played a hand in this, you become responsible for your own actions. Every problem literally disappears because you know how to handle it.
That's the thing, is it's very difficult to do that. And it takes introspection and it takes thinking about things and it takes accepting that, you know, hey, I'm guilty in this situation and in this aspect, or I'm responsible in this aspect. And that can be very hard, especially when you're dealing with like really tough situations. But it's something that we're clearly lacking in our culture, in our society right now. And we need to bring it back because that's the only way you ever learn and grow as a human being, is just accepting that, you know, taking accountability and trying to make sure that you don't make those same mistakes again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's see, Joseph, those $30 to make your property value just went up. I wish that was the case, dude. I wish this green screen made my property value go up 10%. That would be awesome.
Hey, we haven't done
I
anything.
definitely agree with you about accountability. Once you, you know, place that accountability on yourself, there's no more excuses. And once you get rid of those noises and those excuses and the blame, you know, it's relieving. It really is. It's like you learn more about yourself and you learn what you should and shouldn't do, and you really take that self into accountability for everything.
And those situations
it is relieving.
normally won't happen again because you understand what caused it. So yeah.
Or you're at that place where you don't care no more. But no, where you don't put yourself into that predicament. It makes your life so much more easier.
Most of the time, I don't give a shit about anything.
It depends on what I'm doing.
Joseph Santos says, I have a question to keep people thinking. Those who are pro-choice say those who are pro-life do not do enough to ensure the kids live well. Gun restrictions commonly suggested by example. what should the pro-life do to prove that the well-being of the child is equal to the birth of that child?
Well, they do. There's probably hundreds of pro-life organizations. There's dozens that I know about of pro-life organizations who help kids, who help families, who help single moms in various ways. The crisis pregnancy centers keep getting like shut down. They keep getting attacked currently, just because of all the stuff going on with Roe v. Wade. There was like a city that banned crisis pregnancy centers simply because they don't offer abortions. And it's like you're taking it, at that point, it's not arguing pro-choice anymore. It's just arguing pro-abortion in the aspect that somebody should have the choice of going to a crisis pregnancy center and getting help, like legitimate help that they need for themselves, for their baby, for their future family, and you brought up gun restrictions, which is really interesting. My husband and I actually just had the conversation the other day that we need to teach kids about gun safety if we want them to be safe
Give
around
them one,
guns.
put one in their hands, show them how to use it, show them what it's really about, take them to a shooting
Personal
range,
responsibility.
let them know what it does completely. That's how we were with my kids. We used to see, my daughter was like, and she was like 9, maybe a little bit younger. I don't know, but she was shooting that AR like it was nothing. But we teach her first how to hold it, how to use it, where to aim, where not to aim, what not to do. Like, if you're more informative, then there shouldn't be no reason for them to not be doing what they're doing. Like, yeah.
But I think he was more along the lines of asking as far as like personal, not like organizational.
Personal?
Like,
That's mine personally.
What should pro-life do to prove that the well-being of that child is worth that child's birth? Yeah, I think what he's referring to is
free college, free healthcare.
I'm not paying for that shit. I'm sorry.
So those are completely different arguments, and I don't want to get into all of that right now. It's late. It's like almost 11 for me. But
damn, it is. I didn't even realize it was that late. Man, we've been going for like 3 hours.
I'm just messing with y'all. There's so much with those two whole things.
Yeah.
It's a whole different.
Yep, the whole conversation in and of themselves, for sure. Which I could talk about too, but no.
I should have added the doc into that one.
I mean, he does actually bring up a good point, though. I mean, if you're pro-life and every life counts, what about the well-being of that child? Should amount to that. I mean, because. Okay, from what I'm trying to understand from what he's saying is, okay, let's just say you can't have an abortion because you've had 1 or 2 already. So that third one comes along. What about that well-being of that child justifies that child's life?
Well, why do you assume that okay, so why is the assumption that an unplanned pregnancy, unwanted, whatever, however you want to phrase it, that child will automatically grow up in an unloved environment or an abusive environment or a bad environment, because those two things don't necessarily equate. I
have an answer for that, because that's what I did. Okay. Remember, I had two births and then an abortion, and then what made my kids, the one that I decided to keep, which is my daughter now, or the ones before that, what made them more what made that kid more viable than the one that I actually gave up for, abortion, which was actually the time frame, what I was dealing with in my life, and just basically time. There was nothing that signified that this child was going to be better than this child, because I had no clue what that child would have became. Like you said, I could have had the next, who knows what kind of child, could have been, who knows. Anyways, so there's no placing a value on which child meant more, what is more. It was just the time that I was going through what I was going through, that I couldn't. It just, Nothing made them more valuable, less valuable. You can't put a price on a child because they all mean something. Like when your children go up to you and go, "I'm the favorite, right, mom?" Or "You're the favorite." You know, there really isn't,
The
even though there
favorite
really is.
game. Oh, you're gonna have that, Ashley.
See, that's funny. Just because I think you can certainly have different relationships with each of your children, but it doesn't necessarily mean that one is higher, than the other. It just means that they're different. Because I certainly already have. I have since they were itty bitty tiny babies in the NICU unit. I've had different relationships with each of my children that have progressed and grown in different ways.
All right, he says, let me keep you thinking. Pro-life is commonly a religious stance. The CPS website states that one, if the biggest predictors of child abuse is devout religious parents, pro-life does not equal caring about kids. Sorry for the spelling and punctuation errors. My thumbs are fat and stupid. I make them too, and my thumbs aren't fat and stupid. They're just retarded. But yeah.
Is he saying that a religious plays in the fact of the way that they're going to be more
what he's saying is like,
or less open, because that would be justified as abuse, as mental abuse or physical abuse, because there is like, okay, when growing up, my brother would go to Catholic school, and whenever you did something wrong, you would get the paddle. So that was taught different ways. Or like for instance, like when we were talking about birth control, sex, any kind of thing. Ooh, that wasn't supposed to be taught about when you're Catholic school or anything like that. Like I went to catechism. I was brought up in the church. I have faith. I believe in a higher purpose, but I do not choose to give it a name.
right.
But when I have a problem, I say, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." So yeah, exactly. That's where it has like a little conundrum, because like I said, I do have faith. I do believe that there is more out there, but I don't choose to say, "Oh, it was Jesus Christ or Mother Mary," or Buddha. I want to pray to. That is your choice. But praying to me is just a release of talking to myself for the day, saying, "Hey, I did this today, and I needed to just get it out there." Basically clarify my own brain. Basically,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like a mental kind of thing. So it doesn't really necessarily mean that, but like I said, answering this question, I don't believe that faith has anything about some sort of more abusive than it could be not, or saving somebody because they're more religious and these other people weren't. So that's why they did the things they did. Like, I don't believe that has anything to do with it. Or having parents that are like horrible to you, and then, oh, you're gonna be a shitty parent because your parents fuck. You know what I mean? Like, no.
Right.
No, for me, like I would do the opposite. No, I don't. There is some things in my relationship that are really mimicking like my parents, which I hate, but I've learned how to hone that in and adjust it for my own purpose, for my own needs and what I need, and for my children's needs. But there is a difference between having your relationship for yourself and then your relationship with your kids and your family.
All right. Well, Ashley speaks her little thought on that. I've got to run to the bathroom. Give me a minute.
I would also add that correlation doesn't equal causation. Like simply because it's hard sometimes with statistics too, and or data or anything like that, because you also have to examine how they were collected, in what manner, how big the pool of people were, all those
Or
things.
who.
But but I also would argue, if statistically, more abuse is found in religious homes, okay, well, how religious are these people? Are you talking about like fundamentalist type people who like, like as KariG brought up, because my adoptive mom, she also grew up in the Catholic religion. She went to catechism, and those nuns did some of the worst things, that she told me about. They used every fear. They would find out what you were afraid of and then use it against you.
Extract the fear God of you, basically.
Yep.
That's what they called it. And
I think we've come a long way. I think a lot of people have come a long way since that was taking place, and like corporal punishment was taking place, because now honestly the pro-life side, I don't hardly ever see people use religion as any type of argument or a more morality, like talking about it in specific morality issues, because I think we like, I'm not religious at all. Now I'm more agnostic. I used to be like a super militant atheist, but I'm more agnostic in that I've just grown up and realized, hey, I don't have all the answers and I don't know. And maybe there's some type of force governing us. I don't necessarily think it's like an omnipresent being, but at the end of the day, I don't know either way. So we'll all find out one day, I guess, won't we? But, you know,
As time comes, we'll all figure it out.
yeah. But I think, you know, most pro-life people, when they're actually like debating this topic in like a very contentious debate, which this conversation has honestly been really wonderful, and this has been super awesome. But most pro-life people talk about science. They bring up scientific arguments as opposed to any type of religious arguments, because your religious arguments aren't going to hold any water anyway. So what's the point of bringing them up?
You know, as far as religion is concerned, like, most people in this country have moved away from religion as a whole. Yeah, you still hold those values and everything, but it's not an argument anymore for that. But I do have to give you that point. Those who are the most devout do seem to be the most violent, because you know, it comes down to a whole point to, you remember when people used to flog each other because they sinned? You know, it's that situation. There are still people who do that kind of thing. You know, like in Catholic schools, a kid talks out, smack their hand with a ruler. That still happens.
A ruler.
So, you know, that's still a thing too. So, I mean, I understand your point as far as the devout part being the most abusive. Yes. But I feel like in that point that puts that responsibility for that on the parent, you know, because they put you in that situation. They put you in that schooling to where you can get your hands smacked for looking the wrong way, you know? So that's still a parent's decision, a parent's aspect on that. He says, on hurting kids and calling it discipline, it was called discipline when it was done to the woman. The difference is that the woman got a voice. CPS website says that, oh my God, I got the burp. CPS website says devoutly religious parent. That's all.
My friend, for instance, I was just with her the other day. She was telling me, well, she's the friend of my friend. She wants to adopt kids. She can't have kids, right? So there's all these rules, regulations. You have to jump through freaking hoops, right? To take care of someone's child, right? Which is totally understandable, right? But then when the mother that's doing all these bad things gets her child taken away and she works herself through the program, oh, here you go, here's your kids back. Or she's in a rundown apartment. She just has to prove that she has food and working, bringing in some sort of money. When they're like in like a house that has their own rooms, their TVs, it's clean. There's someone there to be there taking care of them. They're scheduled, everything, you know, and they have it all. But they're gonna take these children that were already from a bad place to begin with, and then give them back to the parents. So most of the time, knowing damn well they're gonna go right back in the system. It's just like, come on now, who's working for who? So when it comes to CPS and all that stuff, it's very fine line of trust or any of that shit that they do, because it's horrible when they don't take the fact. I understand it's the parents, you know, those are their kids. But when there's someone that's devoted, loving, wants to take care of them, has the actual choice to be like, yes, I want that as my child, and then they take them from them just to give them back to the same mother that they, you know what I mean? It's just like I don't have a whole thing about CPS. I'm like, CPS, you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah. All those systems need to be fixed in the foster care system. See, what's frustrating about the foster care system specifically is that there are amazing foster parents and there are also horrible ones. And you know, everybody demonizes fostering in general because of those horrible ones. But that's where, like, we need to fix these systems, and we need to make sure, because that's the whole point of fostering is it's the main goal is reunification with their biological family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's people who get their kids taken away due to many circumstances that probably shouldn't have been in the first place. And they might end up in an abusive foster home as opposed to like there's it's on both sides of that. And these kids are the ones who are suffering either way.
It's like in the middle.
Yes.
And
the same thing about abortion. It's the same. All this stuff goes back in a big circle. Like there's never going to be a right. There's never going to be a wrong. There's just going to be a whole bunch of mud in between. And we have to slosh through it as individuals to figure out what's best for us. And then, but when it comes to children, like, man, you can go on forever. Because everybody has a different opinion. How they should be raised. Yeah. Should they have a religion? Should I give them my religion? Should I not give them a religion? Should I let them find themselves? Should I? There's just so much out there. That's how I was with my kids. Because like I said, I was raised Catholic, Christian. I went to both. Been baptized I don't know how many times because I was in both of them. Catechism, got my Bible, learned all. I still know the books just because it was bred into me because it was a song. Lyrics are very important. But with my kids, I just let them find a way. My daughter went to church all the time and everything. Now she's like, she's not her own person and she does her own thing and she doesn't like saying no or yes, but she's just,
Right.
People are going to be who they are. It's not good to shove just because you're the parents, it's good to give them options, opinions, and let them kind of, not all the time though, because you can't, the kids are kids. So you got to kind of reel it in at a time when you see it kind of getting, but that's for us as a parents to kind of reel it in, but to a point, but let them have that kind of freedom to discover who they are because everybody's different. Even as their kids, even though they have you and them melded together, they're still their own individual person.
Yeah, and you definitely do bring up a great point with that. It's children need to be able to develop on their own because if they don't make these mistakes in life and learn the consequences of those mistakes, number one, they're going to be doomed to repeat it all over again. And number two, if you can't function yourself and understand that your actions do have consequences, we have a society like we see today. Like everything is everybody else's fault, everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is this and this and this and this and this because you don't want to take responsibility for the shit you do. So yes, you do have a great point with that. But Sork is back. He says, do you have biology in your schools? Here we have this. In low grades, we talk about flowers and etc. In high grades, we talk about humans, organs, DNA, how babies grow inside. Yes, we do have that too. But unfortunately, we do not
pay attention.
Yeah, we don't put as much emphasis on that as we do everything else. I mean, shit. Our school system never tells you how to do your taxes, never tells you how to balance a checkbook, never tells you how to change your tire, but yet math is pushed down your throat to a whole point to where, as we were talking beforehand, like, because I got in trouble so much, my math class in 10th grade was learning how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide whole numbers for the first month of that whole class. Yet when I was locked up in state's custody, I'm doing shit like calculus. I'm learning physics. I'm doing all this. I had a better education in the system than I did at home. But yeah, we do have that. It's just nobody pays attention. That's the thing. Our teachers are there to earn a paycheck. There are some great teachers out there. Don't get me wrong. My German teacher was amazing as hell. But our teachers are there to earn a paycheck. And from the looks of things now, it's not about teaching them. It's about brainwashing.
Indoctrinating.
Yeah. But we do have those subjects. It's just nobody pays attention anymore because it's not a celebrated, glorified thing. I've said this a lot, especially now. Here's so more. Everybody looks for fame. Everybody looks for popularity. Well, what's the best way to do that? Well, to be dumb, because everybody wants a friend that's stupider than them, so they feel better. So our school system is incredibly fucked. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
Joseph says biology is taught in the United States in different levels. Some students get better education than others, based on the myth of gifted students. It's painfully rare that any child is gifted. Yeah,
I would disagree. I don't know. I would disagree with that. I mean, no. Like we had a basic freshman biology course, and that was it. And I think there were some electives that you could choose to take. But then like that kind of stuff was more like yeah, there's AP classes, but that doesn't mean they're for gifted children or kids or whatever. It's for, honestly, it should be for kids who have more of an interest in that particular subject. Like I was in an AP English class for like a hot second before I just decided to not go to school anymore. Not that I dropped out. I just didn't go to my classes like I should have. But anyway, I was in an AP English class and I thoroughly enjoyed it because I love writing and I love reading. That's what I do now. But it didn't make me gifted. It just means I excelled in that particular area.
Right.
I would like to know what he meant by gifted, because there's different kinds of things.
That's
gifted.
what I was going to bring up.
That's what I wanted to know, because, for instance, my son, he would get hundreds on this STAR test thing that only like 3 people in the whole state got. Like those things like, what do you define as gifted? He got like a plaque because he was like highest in his grade and this and this and that. And what do you define? Is that what gifted is, or is someone that just came up with this new invention? Like, and they might not have been the smartest in books. Like, how do you define gifted?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, personally with me, like math and science were always my best subjects at school, other than, the German classes that I took in high school. Like math and science were always great to me, but English damn near failed every time. Like, I know where punctuations and semicolons are supposed to go, but do I use them? Fuck no. I don't care. It's not a thing. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's gifted actually does. The higher end of the spectrum is gifted. The lower end of the spectrum, to where it becomes to a point where there is some mental retardation going on, it is also gifted, or we call them special. Things like that. It's that term gifted is just like, you leave out 80-90% of everybody else because of that. And does it need to be a thing? No. You're either smart or you can barely function. I know that sounds bad.
No, I don't think that at all. No, I think every single person has an area in which they greatly excel in, even if they,
to a point.
Maybe to a point. But okay, so like look at it like this. Autistic people struggle with communication, with reading body language, with picking up on social cues. They struggle with that. But a lot of autistic people have one specific or several specific things that they greatly excel in. And it's not that they are dumb or that they are stupid or that they are slow in any regard. It is that they just have something that makes certain things more challenging for them. And they, like I said, like communication, reading body language, and reading social cues, that is extremely challenging for them. But perhaps, certain other things aren't, like learning a musical instrument. You know what I mean? And it's that way for everyone. It's that way for anyone with any type of disability. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you can't excel at anything. And I think even some of the quote unquote dumbest people have something that they are good at. And I don't really look at people like that anyway. I don't really think that anyone is just dumb. I might say you have dumb ideas or say it in like a, colloquialism type of thing. Like you're fucking dumb. Like, but
Everybody's
I don't
dumb in
actually
some
think that.
aspects, but everybody is also
Yeah.
genius in others.
Like
that
I'm
comes
really
down to
dumb at
that,
math and
yes.
science, but I'm dumb at math and science, but I can literally crank out an essay that I barely know anything about, and just bullshit my way through it and have a decent essay written in a couple hours. You know what I mean? Like if I really needed to, that's how I
Whereas
got through
me,
most
that
of my
would take days.
school. Yeah, it's just strengths, and everybody has strengths, everybody has weaknesses, and it doesn't matter if you're book smart, street smart,
Right. So I think everybody's view of like he's saying here, gifted is a specific. Educational studies don't really have a grasp on this because research over decades has shown the concepts of giftedness to be exaggerated, even if grounded. There are some people who learn better than others. Whether or not this should be even called gifted is at all debatable. You are correct.
Yeah.
I do. Another friend of mine, growing up, she is a family lawyer here in the bottom of my state. Like growing up, I would put her on autistic spectrum, like because she knew about social cues. She knew the things normal people pick up on, but she didn't care. It was not that kind of, and it made her such an excellent family lawyer for the fact that she didn't care. She was able to separate that emotion to determine, okay, this is correct. This is not correct. This is right. This is not right. But it did cause a lot of problems in her social life because the way she deemed things, the way she saw things was completely different from everybody else. So now she was an incredibly smart woman. I mean, throughout school, she was literally the third highest in our class. But the way she saw things, the way it processed in her mind, you could take in book information, but she couldn't take in your subtle social cues to say, this is going to be a trigger for me. Nor did she even care to, honestly, which made her fucking wonderful to be friends with. She was always straight up honest with everything, and I love the hell out of that woman.
She cut all the bullshit. Bullshit free life.
Yeah,
I love that.
Spilled shit all over myself. Yes.
Yeah.
But,
I gotta get going soon, guys, because it's late.
Yeah. We've been here for over 3 hours now. Let's go ahead. I figured this was going to be longer than what I thought it would be. But imagine if more people were involved. Shit.
Then we would have never got our points across.
No. I feel like if I could reach out to more people, definitely, Joseph, dude, I'd love to talk to you about that situation too. Maybe have some more people along with you as well, because I don't feel like there was an end all be all to any of this situation, and then there never will be.
There never will be.
But yeah, I would love to talk to more people about this kind of situation too. To the both of you, I appreciate the hell out of this. This has been great. Ashley, I know you got to get back to your kids. KariG's got.
They're sleeping, but I just gotta get back to my husband.
I gotta go. Okay.
You don't matter. Whatever. He's probably sleeping himself now. But anyway, no, I appreciate the hell out of both of you guys. You guys are great. I definitely want to have more conversations about this with other people because, KariG, I've known you for a while here. Ashley, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And, being able to talk to you and not have you screaming and yelling at me, even if we differ, that's excellent. This is what I want with the show. Invite me to the next one. We'll try again. I got you, Joseph. But yeah, I do appreciate both of you guys. Is there any final thoughts you guys got?
That's it. Talk to your children, people. Anybody, just keep an eye out. If you see somebody looking like they need to talk to, Say, hey, how you doing today? That's all it takes.
Okay. Ashley?
Great. I had a counselor in school who did that for me. She just saw that I was struggling, and she always made sure to be like, "Hey, are you okay?" So yeah. But anyway, no, yeah. I've really enjoyed this. Sometimes it's really hard when I make a lot of content on TikTok, and I get a lot of people just screaming about how I'm an evil person and this and that and the other. And it's just really nice to talk to just reasonable people who, like, we can have these different beliefs, and I might have different goals than you have in the political social sphere, but I do really appreciate the perspectives, and I think we also all agree on a lot of things. So I do hope more people see this and just can see that just because you disagree on one big issue doesn't mean you disagree on every issue, and we can kind of find common ground, and in that we can try to find compromise and just help, like, let's help just reduce these numbers of of these abortions and stuff like that. That's what I would want to see. So
I'm with you on that one as well. As far as my final thoughts on the whole thing, it's I agree with both of you. We do need to have these conversations where we can disagree and still find some kind of common ground, but it's still ultimately a parent's choice. As far as abortion is concerned, I think every voice needs to be heard. Every voice needs to be considered. It's just not my body, my choice, no uterus, no opinion. That's never going to be the option, because if that were the case, what is the point of a man's existence other than to give you the DNA and to give you, as a man's perspective, that's the kind of way I see that as a whole. But yes, we definitely do need to have these kinds of conversations. More people do need to sit down and start listening, and at least trying to consider somebody else's opinion on things like that. To come to an understanding that if I think the way I do, you think the way you do, the best ground is always going to be somewhere in the middle, because at least we both are happy and we both suffer at the same time. That's equality. That's what you want. That's what it is. But I appreciate the hell out of both of you. And I know, Ashley, here, you've got your little TikTok. You've made a little Twitter now. You want to go ahead and shout that out?
Yeah, Freely Ashley on TikTok, and I'm Freely Ashley 92 on Twitter. Go follow me. I need to build that up a little bit.
Kari, you got anything you want to shout out for that?
No, I just do podcasts sometimes on movies and whatever else might be coming up. So you can always find me on Spotify or anywhere. I do Anchor, so go follow me. It's Creative Veronica Gonzalez. That's it.
Yeah, you do need to pick up on that a lot more. I know you're busy as hell, but I mean, your shit, or when you brought it up to me, that was actually interesting. I did like listening to you on that. But
make sure you put the tag. I don't know if you do. Do you put like the tags in the description on YouTube and stuff?
No, but I should go back and do that later on, or at least do it at the very beginning for you guys.
I'd like to be able to find. I would like to be able to find Kari. So
they'll find me if they want to find me. If not, then they'll stumble upon me eventually.
You guys have a connection here on Discord with this server.
True that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
You have that connection.
I have mine. I think I have my link on it already. So I think I do. At least.
Sweet.
I think I do. It's super old though. I haven't done it in like a year. I think I need to get back to it though. I've been so busy though, but I haven't stopped watching movies or listening to all the drama, so I can talk about it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all staying with us. This has gone on 3.5 hours now. It's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be with just the three of us. There was supposed to be more, but they backed out at the last minute, or like Joseph didn't set the timer right. I'm giving you shit, dude. But I appreciate the hell out of all of y'all watching. I appreciate it, guests. Y'all are wonderful. Let me go to the end screen here. For every one of you, I'm just going to give you the outro. You have a voice. It's time to use it. Please, sit down. Let's have a conversation. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. All right, we're clear.